There's a tradition, almost a cliche, of following in your family's footsteps. If your dad's a lawyer, odds are you'll end up in a courtroom too. If your mom runs a restaurant, you probably grew up knowing your way around a kitchen. It's that classic family business. But what if the legacy your father left behind wasn't a store or a degree on the wall, but a battered journal filled with rituals and terrifying creatures, and the keys to a '67 Impala? That's the spark that ignites Supernatural. The story of two brothers, Sam and Dean Winchester, who didn't inherit a profession. They inherited a war of biblical proportions. Over 15 seasons, we followed these guys as they crisscrossed the United States to the sound of classic rock, facing everything from roadside ghosts to angels, demons, and even God himself. And through it all, what truly mattered wasn't the monster of the week, it was their journey. So today on the channel, we're taking a look back at my all-time favorite series, Supernatural, a show that, for many years, was a part of my weekly TV ritual. We kick things off with the Winchester brothers' backstory. When they were kids, their mom died in a bizarre supernatural fire, and their dad, John, turned into a sort of ghost-hunting Rambo. Years later, Sam is trying to be a normal guy in college, basically trying to forget that his family is the real-life version of the Ghostbusters. That is, until his older brother Dean shows up in full-on "we need to talk" mode, saying their dad has gone missing on a hunting trip. The only clue leads them to Jericho, a small town haunted by a woman in white who seduces drivers and then dispatches them. In the middle of the investigation, Dean, the bad boy of the duo, gets himself arrested. But like any good action hero, he manages to escape in the nick of time. Together, they confront the spirit and force her to face her own tragedy, the children she herself murdered, and her soul finally finds peace. Sam thinks the mission is over and heads back to college, ready to dive headfirst into his studies. But the episode delivers a gut punch of a scene. His girlfriend Jessica is dead, pinned to the ceiling, exactly how their mother died. The grief throws Sam back on the road with Dean, and now the hunt is personal.
We got work to do.
Following the notes in their father's journal, which is basically a supernatural Google Maps, the brothers arrive in Blackwater Ridge. There, a girl named Haley is desperate because her brother has vanished in the woods. Sam and Dean pose as park rangers, looking super professional, and go to investigate. They find a completely trashed campsite and quickly realize this wasn't a bear, unless the bear learned how to use tools. The tracks point to a Wendigo, a creature that turns humans into its next meal. To make matters worse, the beast is smarter than it looks, and captures Dean and Haley, leaving Sam with the responsibility of playing the hero alongside the girl's younger brother. The trail leads them to an abandoned mine, the perfect setting for a horror movie. Inside, they discover that Tommy, Haley's brother, is still alive, while Sam creates a diversion. Like a Pokemon master ordering Charizard to use flamethrower, Dean seizes the opportunity and incinerates the monster with a flare gun. The family is reunited, and the Winchesters get back in the Impala, continuing the search for their father. A mysterious plane crash, where it looks like the aircraft was brought down by an invisible force, catches the brothers' attention. Things get even weirder when the few survivors start dying, one by one, in bizarre accidents. The conclusion is obvious: demonic possession. To prevent the next tragedy, Dean, who's more afraid of flying than he is of demons, has to swallow his fear and board the next flight with Sam. Following the next potential victim, mid-air, they manage to isolate the possessed passenger in the plane's galley and begin an exorcism at 30,000 feet, while the entity desperately tries to jump from body to body. The ritual works at the last second, and the plane lands safely, with no one noticing the spiritual battle that just went down. Later, they find out the tip about the case came from their father's voicemail, a sign that John is still out there. The clue is small, but it's enough to keep Hope, and the Impala, on the road. Recurring nightmares draw Sam back to his old home in Lawrence, Kansas, the place where it all began, and for good reason. The family now living there is being terrorized by a violent poltergeist. To help, they call in Missouri Mosley, a psychic friend of John Winchester who knows her way around the paranormal. They try to perform a spiritual cleansing of the house, but the ghost only seems to get angrier, as if they'd thrown gasoline on the fire. At the climax of the chaos, when all seems lost, another presence emerges. It's the spirit of Mary Winchester, the boy's mother. She appears to protect her sons and the new family, sacrificing her own spiritual energy to destroy the poltergeist for good.
I let go of my son.
Later, John visits Missouri in secret and admits he can't meet his sons yet, as he needs to be sure the demon he's hunting is the right one. Sam and Dean leave town, certain that somehow their mother is still watching over them. The brothers investigate Roosevelt Asylum, an abandoned place where the voices of the dead whisper through the halls. The official story is about a patient riot in 1964, but Sam and Dean uncover the grisly truth. The head psychiatrist, Dr. Ellicott, was performing cruel experiments, believing he could cure patients by channeling their rage and violence into one another. The doctor's spirit still haunts the grounds, and worse, his malevolent influence begins to affect Sam. Consumed by an uncontrollable rage, Sam attacks Dean in a fit of violence that nearly turns deadly. Dean manages to subdue his brother just in time, and rushes to burn Dr. Ellicott's body, breaking the curse and freeing not only the patient's spirits, but Sam as well. As soon as the dust settles, Dean's phone rings. It's John. On the other end of the line, their father pulls them back to the main mission: investigate disappearances in Burkittsville, Indiana, while he continues to hunt the demon that killed their mother alone. Sam, frustrated at being sidelined again, argues with Dean and decides to go his own way for a while. On the road, he gives a ride to a mysterious girl named Meg. Meanwhile, Dean discovers the town is protected by a Vanir. An ancient pagan god demands annual human sacrifices in exchange for prosperity. And guess what? Dean and a local girl, Emily, are chosen as the next tribute for the town's killer Scarecrow. In the nick of time, Sam returns, realizing he can't abandon his brother. Together, they burn the sacred tree that gives the Vanir its power, and the Scarecrow crumbles to dust. In a parallel scene, we see Meg's dark side. She murders a driver and uses his blood to communicate with an entity she calls Father. Clearly, she's not just another pretty face on the side of the road. During a hunt for a monster called a Rawhead, Dean suffers a massive electrical shock. His heart is damaged, and doctors give him only a few weeks to live. Desperate, he goes to a tent revival hosted by a pastor who performs miracle healings, and it works. Dean is cured, but the magic comes at a sinister price. For every person healed, another person in town dies suddenly. Sam uncovers the dirty trick. The pastor's wife is using black magic and controlling a Reaper, an entity that collects souls. She chooses people she deems immoral and trades their lives for the healing of the faithful. When Dean realizes the next cure is for Layla, a young woman with a brain tumor, he refuses to let another person die. In the ensuing chaos, Sam destroys the witch's altar, freeing the Reaper. The entity, now free, decides to take its controller and spares Dean. Layla, however, is not healed. Before leaving, Dean, in a rare moment of vulnerability, promises to pray for her.
I'm gonna pray for you.
There's a miracle right there.
One of Sam's premonitions leads the brothers to Max, a young man with a terrifyingly familiar story. His mother also died in a fire on the ceiling when he was a baby. Raised through years of abuse by his father and uncle, Max has developed telekinetic powers and is now using them for revenge, making the deaths look like suicides. Sam sees a dark mirror of his own future in Max. Terrified that his own powers could corrupt him, he desperately tries to talk to Max, special to special, but the boy's rage is too great. During a confrontation, Max locks Sam in a closet and is about to kill Dean. In a desperate act to save his brother, Sam momentarily awakens his own telekinesis. In the end, consumed by his pain and seeing no way out, Max takes his own life. Sam is left devastated, not just by Max's death, but by the question that now haunts him more than ever. Why is he different, too? Bizarre deaths in Chicago, marked with bloody symbols, put the Winchester brothers on Meg's trail again. She's alive, more manipulative than ever, and clearly setting something up. The investigation reveals she's using shadowy creatures called Devas, summoned by a spell as part of an elaborate trap. The target, their father, John. Sam and Dean figure out the plan and manage to turn the spell against the caster. Meg, losing control of the creatures, is thrown out of a building window and apparently defeated. Back at the motel, the big surprise. John Winchester finally shows up.
Hey! Hey, boys.
The family reunion, however, is short-lived. Meg returns with demonic backup. Sam uses flares to repel the shadow creatures, and the family manages to escape. But John makes a difficult decision. They need to split up again, convinced that together they are too easy a target for the demon. Children in a Wisconsin town are falling into mysterious comas, one by one. The case affects Dean on a personal level, and he finally confesses a dark secret to Sam. When they were kids, he failed to protect Sam from a creature called a Striga, the very same one that's starts attacking now. This creature feeds on the life force of children and is only vulnerable while it's feeding. For Dean, this isn't just another hunt, it's a chance to right a wrong that has haunted him for years. They set a trap, using the motel owner's son as bait, a risky plan that almost goes horribly wrong. At the exact moment the Striga attacks the boy, Dean overcomes his trauma and fires, killing the monster. All the children wake up, and an old weight is finally lifted from Dean's shoulders. Despite the victory, Sam mourns the boy's lost innocence, a reflection of what they themselves lost so long ago. A veteran hunter dies trying to use a weapon that's practically a legend in their world, the Colt, an antique pistol capable of killing any supernatural creature. The news reaches John, who reappears and joins forces with his sons. For the first time this season, the Winchester family has a single clear objective: get that gun. The Colt is in the hands of a vampire nest led by the dangerous Luther. The plan is simple: capture Kate, Luther's partner, and propose a trade. As expected, the negotiation goes south and turns into a bloodbath. In the chaos, John manages to grab the Colt, and to prove the legend is real, he shoots Luther, who disintegrates with a single shot. With the most powerful weapon in the supernatural world in their hands, John, Sam, and Dean decide it's time to stop running. Together, they are going to hunt Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon. Victory, for the first time, feels truly possible. With the Winchesters in possession of the Colt, Meg changes tactics. She begins to hunt down and brutally murder John's friends and allies, one by one, in a bloody blackmail scheme to force them to hand over the gun. Under pressure, John tells his sons everything he knows about Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon. The clues lead them to Salvation, Iowa, where Sam has a vision of the next family that will be attacked. While John goes to meet Meg with a fake Colt to buy time, Sam and Dean race to protect the mother and baby, who are Azazel's targets. They arrive just in time to interrupt the ritual, preventing the demon from repeating what it did to their mother. Azazel, however, escapes at the last second. When Sam and Dean call their father's cell phone to tell him what happened, the voice that answers isn't John's. It's Meg, her tone victorious, informing them that their father has fallen into her trap. John is in the hands of the enemy. The stakes have just been raised. To rescue their father, the brothers need help. They seek out Bobby Singer, an old friend of John's and a seasoned hunter. Bobby teaches them how to create a devil's trap, a sigil drawn on the ceiling that can imprison any entity that enters it. Meg, coming after them, walks right into it. They exorcise her to find out where John is being held, even knowing the human host won't survive the process. Before she's sent back to hell, the demon reveals the location. Sam and Dean storm the building in Jefferson City and rescue John, but they miss the crucial detail: Azazel has already possessed him. Suddenly, their father turns on them. The yellow-eyed demon tortures Dean and taunts Sam, trying to force him to use the Colt to kill his own father. For a brief second, John manages to regain control and begs Sam to shoot him. Unable to kill his father, Sam shoots him in the leg. The pain forces Azazel to flee the body. On the road, racing toward the hospital, a semi-truck driven by a possessed driver slams head-on into the Impala, destroying the car and leaving the family devastated. The fate of the Winchesters is left hanging in a brutal cliffhanger. After the crash, Dean is stuck in ghost mode, trapped outside his own body. A Reaper shows up and gives him the rundown. Either he follows the light or he becomes one of those annoying, vengeful spirits. Meanwhile, John, in pure desperation, does what a Winchester does best: makes a terrible decision. He summons Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon, and lays his cards on the table: his life, his soul, and the Colt in exchange for Dean's life. It's the most expensive deal in family history. Dean wakes up in his hospital bed, good as new, with no idea about the pact that saved him. John appears, gives him a goodbye look that says everything without a word, and drops dead in the hallway. The debt has been paid, and he paid it alone.
Dad.
With grief stuck in their throats, the brothers take a break from hunting and stop at Harvell's Roadhouse, a bar that's basically a headquarters for hunters. There they meet the owner, Ellen, her daughter Jo, and Ash, the mullet-rocking genius who's a wizard with computers. While Ash crunches the numbers on their dad's notes, Sam and Dean take on a local case: a Rakshasa, a monster that dresses up as a clown to get into houses and devour parents, leaving only the children. A nightmare straight out of the movie It. They track the creature to a circus knife thrower pretending to be blind and send the monster packing with a brass pipe. Back at the roadhouse, the pain finally boils over. Dean unleashes all his anger and grief on the Impala, beating the hell out of the car like it's a soda can. The damage to the car is nothing compared to the hole John's death left in him. Back on the road, they cross paths with Gordon Walker, a hardcore hunter who believes every monster deserves a one-way ticket to hell. The job this time is a vampire nest that ends up capturing Sam. But then comes the plot twist. The group's leader, Lenore, reveals they're basically vegan vampires, feeding only on cattle. Gordon isn't buying it. He kidnaps Lenore, and to prove his point, cuts Sam's arm to tempt her with fresh blood. She resists, showing more self-control than most humans. Dean, witnessing this, incapacitates Gordon, and Sam lets Lenore go. For the first time, it clicks for Dean. He admits he judged wrong, and that the line between good and evil is a lot blurrier than he thought. A vision leads Sam to Andy Gallagher, a guy with mind control powers who seems like he's straight out of the X-Men. His past is a mirror of Sam's. Mother died in a fire on the ceiling when he was a baby. Meanwhile, a series of bizarre suicides are happening, and the police suspect Andy, but he couldn't have committed the crimes. The truth is crazier. Andy has a twin brother he never knew existed, Anson, who also has powers and is using manipulation to get revenge on everyone who separated them. In the final confrontation, Andy is forced to use his power to kill his own brother to save Dean's life. Back at the roadhouse, Bash drops a bombshell. The whole fire pattern theory is a bust. The game is way more complicated than they imagined. In Baltimore, Detective Diana starts being haunted by the ghost of an informant who was murdered. Sam and Dean arrive in town, sniffing out the case, and discover a body hidden in a wall and a necklace that connects the crime to the detective's partner, Officer Pete. The guy, trying to cover his tracks, kidnaps Dean, but the informant's ghost wasn't just hanging around. She returns as an omen of death, exposing the corrupt partner's drug scheme and giving Diana the perfect chance to shoot him. With justice served, the spirit finally finds peace and vanishes. A series of cases about people gaining incredible talents overnight raises a red flag. Crossroads, demon deals. Dean sets a trap, captures the demon, and exorcises her, but not before making a risky bargain. He trades the entity's freedom to save the life of a man who sold his soul to cure his sick wife. Before disappearing, the demon spits out the truth no one wanted to hear, a truth that rips Dean apart. Their father, John Winchester, is in hell.
Your father. I could have brought him back. Your dad would live a long, natural life, like he was meant to.
The hunt ends, but it leaves a wound that can't be stitched up. The word Croatan carved into a telephone pole serves as a grim GPS, guiding the brothers to a completely isolated town. The place has been hit by an outbreak of sudden violence, turning neighbors into killers. They discover a demonic virus, complete with the smell of sulfur, is behind it all. A test confirms Sam isn't infected, but the mystery only deepens when out of nowhere, the plague vanishes and the town is left deserted. They leave with more questions than answers, and the word Croatan lingers in the rearview mirror like an omen of what's to come. Dean finally comes clean with Sam and reveals John's last order, a burden as heavy as a death sentence. Save Sam or kill him if you can't save him. While Sam tries to find other special children like himself, Gordon Walker, the Punisher-style hunter, discovers Azazel's plans and concludes that the only way to stop the apocalypse is to kill Sam. He captures Dean to use him as bait, but Sam turns the tables, disarms the traps, saves his brother, and serves Gordon up to the police on a silver platter. The celebration is short-lived. When he returns, he finds the fiancée of Ava, another special one, dead, with traces of sulfur on the window. Ava has been taken.
Ava.
At a college, urban legends start coming to life, one after another. Bobby immediately recognizes the signature of a trickster, a playful demigod who loves to bend reality just for kicks. The brothers discover that the campus's friendly janitor is the entity in disguise and hatch a plan to kill him with a stake. They celebrate their victory, but soon realize they've fallen for another prank. The trickster is still alive, getting the last laugh and making it clear that his show is far from over. And for those who've seen the series, we know exactly who the trickster really is. A djinn attacks Dean and throws him into an alternate reality, a perfect dream where his mother never died and he has a normal life, with Sam in law school and the two barely speaking. But a ghostly woman haunts him in this world, and he soon realizes the price of this happiness. All the people they saved over the years are dead. Upon finding the djinn's real victim trapped alongside him, Dean understands he's a prisoner too. The only way to escape is to kill himself in the dream. He wakes up in Sam's arms, kills the creature, and saves the other victim, but the wound of what could have been is left open forever.
I wanted to stay so bad. We've lost so much.
People are alive because of you. It's worth it, Dean.
Azazel kidnaps Sam and takes him to a ghost town, bringing him together with the other special children, Andy, Ava, Lily, and Jake. It's a psychic battle royale. Meanwhile, Dean and Bobby find the roadhouse burned to the ground and Ash's body, but also a clue he left behind. Andy uses his powers to send the town's location to Dean. In their dreams, Azazel lays down the rules. Only one can leave alive to lead his demon army. Ava reveals she's been there for months, killing off the other competitors. Jake kills her, and then Sam defeats him, but lets his guard down when he sees Dean arrive. It's the 1 second Jake needed to stab Sam in the back, who dies in his brother's arms.
Sam! Dean!
Hey, look out!
Shattered by Sam's death, Dean does what he swore he'd never do, makes a crossroads deal. He sells his soul for 1 year of life to bring Sam back. Ellen reappears with Ash's map, which reveals Azazel's final plan. A giant devil's trap made of railroad tracks, all converging on a cemetery that hides a gate to hell. Jake, now manipulated by the demon, uses the Colt to open the gate. Hundreds of demons escape. As Bobby and Ellen fight to close the rift, Azazel appears and grabs the Colt. But for a moment, the spirit of John Winchester appears and holds the demon back, giving Dean just enough time to take the final shot. The yellow-eyed demon dies, the gate closes, and John moves on in peace. The war is over, but the battle is just beginning. The world is now flooded with demons, and the clock on Dean's one-way ticket to hell is officially ticking for 12 months. Bobby sends the brothers to Nebraska, and things there are ugly. The entire town seems to have become hell's newest branch office, with the 7 deadly sins throwing a party. In the middle of the hunt, Sam and Dean run into Isaac and Tamura, other hunters who are also on the demon's trail. The trail leads to a bar, but the operation goes completely sideways. Isaac dies in the most gruesome way possible, forced to drink drain cleaner. To turn the tables, the Winchesters and Bobby crash the party, literally, by driving the Impala through the bar's wall. They manage to kidnap Envy and escape with Tamura, but the rest of the demonic gang shows up for a rematch. Just as Sam is about to be taken down, Ruby appears, a mysterious blonde armed with a knife we've never seen before. In seconds, she dispatches 3 demons and vanishes into thin air. With this unexpected assist, the hunters exercise the rest. The message is clear: the game has changed, and there are new and very dangerous players making their moves. A bizarre death leads Dean to Indiana, right to the home of Lisa, an old flame. Meanwhile, Ruby shows up just to plant a seed of doubt in Sam's head, hinting that something is off with his mother's friends. Around Lisa, strange accidents keep happening, and Dean gets attached to her son Ben and starts doing the math, thinking he might be the father. Sam, doing the detective work, realizes the situation is supernatural. It's the work of changelings, monsters that steal children and leave copies in their place to feed on the mothers. The mother creature is keeping the real children, including Ben, trapped in an abandoned house. Sam and Dean raid the den, kill the mother, and all the mini copies go up in flames. The children are returned to their families, but the ending is bittersweet. A shaken Dean has to swallow the truth that Ben isn't his son, and the family man life will have to wait for the next incarnation. Gordon, the hunter who turned into Sam's obsessive stalker, convinces another hunter, Kubrick, that the younger Winchester isn't human. At the same time, the brothers retrieve an item from their father's storage unit, a rabbit's foot that grants incredible luck to whoever touches it, but kills you if you lose it. The good luck doesn't last long, because a mystical thief named Bella Talbot enters the scene and steals the artifact. Dean, pissed off, breaks into her apartment and gets the item back, but the chaos doesn't stop. Kubrick finds Sam alone and prepares to execute him. Dean arrives in the nick of time and, in a master stroke, tricks Bella into touching the cursed foot. Now, with the curse on her own tail, the thief is forced to help the brothers destroy the object. Everyone gets out of the mess, but it's clear that with this woman around, no supernatural treasure is safe.
Forgot we're up $46,000. Almost forgot about that.
Son of a bitch!
Two strange deaths turn a quiet little town into a Las Vegas of vice and ruin. A local hunter named Richie guides the brothers to a bar, where the bartender Casey reveals herself to be a demon and kills him right in front of them. Dean tries to exorcise her but ends up trapped with her in the basement, where he learns some hard truths. With Azazel out of the picture, hell has no leader, and a lot of demons were expecting Sam to take the throne. Meanwhile, Sam tracks them down with the help of a priest named Father Gill, but the plot twist comes fast. The priest is also a demon and Casey's lover. He storms the basement to kill Dean, but Sam shows up with the Colt and, with a single shot, sends both demons to a better, or worse, place. The town returns to normal, but the gossip about the power vacuum in hell continues to echo. In Maple Springs, fairy tales have become real-life horror movies. The epicenter of it all is Callie, a young woman in a coma. Her father reads stories at her bedside, and Sam and Dean quickly figure out that the girl's spirit is using the narratives to cry for help. The truth is worthy of a Disney villain-level plot. Her stepmother poisoned her. Just like in Snow White, Callie's ghost manages to tell her father the truth, and with that, she is freed from her burden and moves on in peace, undoing all the bizarre attacks. At the same time, an increasingly desperate Sam confronts a Crossroads demon to try and figure out how to break Dean's deal. When she doesn't cooperate, he eliminates her without a second thought. The countdown to save his brother's soul is getting shorter and darker. By interrogating a vampire, the brothers are led to Dixon, a vampire with a disgusting method of procreation. He baptizes drinks with his own blood to turn people. As if that weren't enough, Gordon and Kubrick show up to crash the hunt. Dixon captures Gordon, but not to kill him, to turn him. The legendary hunter becomes the very monster he hated most. Now a vampire, Gordon kills his own partner and sets a trap for the Winchesters, using a hostage he himself infected. Dean is forced to use the Colt to take the girl down, while Sam, after a brutal fight, manages to finish off Gordon with a razor wire. On the road, with Dean's deal nearing its end, he begins teaching Sam how to fix the Impala, a silent gesture that sounds a lot like a goodbye. In a twisted Christmas special, a guy dressed as Santa Claus is dragging his victims up the chimney. Investigating the crimes, Sam notices a wreath made from an herb used in pagan sacrificial rituals. The trail leads to the Kerrigan couple, the perfect neighbors who are actually pagan gods, living in disguise among humans. Their weakness, wood from an evergreen tree. With the Christmas spirit in full swing, the Winchesters improvise weapons from the couple's own Christmas tree and send the gods packing. Between one murder and another, Dean insists on celebrating what could be his last Christmas. Sam is reluctant, but in the end, he decorates a motel room, showing that in the midst of all the chaos, family is still the only thing that matters.
Yourself a merry little Christmas.
It's Christmas.
Our troubles will be a merry little.
Deaths in Massachusetts smell like witchcraft. The brothers suspect a book club, but Ruby reappears with a warning. Something far more powerful is manipulating the witches and wants Sam. The tension rises when Dean is hit by a spell. Sam confronts the group, who admit to using magic, but only for petty things, like winning the lottery. The real threat is Tammy, a demon disguised as a club member. She reveals Ruby's big secret. The demon was once human and sold her soul centuries ago. Dean uses Ruby's own knife to kill Tammy. Afterward, Ruby lays it all out. There's no way to save Dean from his deal. All demons were once human, and his fate in hell would be the same. Her message is direct. Dean needs to prepare Sam for a future without him. Bobby falls into a coma after being attacked in the dream world via a spell called African Dream Root. To save him, the brothers need the plant used in the spell, which of course is in Bella's hands. After getting a dose, they dive into their friend's subconscious, facing his worst nightmares to bring him back. The mission is a success, but when they wake up, they discover the con. Bella used the distraction to steal the Colt and disappear. The desperation of nearly losing Bobby and being betrayed again finally causes Dean's tough guy armor to crack. For the first time, he admits out loud that he's terrified of dying and going to hell. The tough hero has finally shown his vulnerable side. Sam wakes up on a Tuesday to the sound of Heat of the Moment and watches Dean die in an absurd way, and again, and again. He's stuck in a time loop watching his brother die over 100 times, all the work of the trickster. the god of mischief. Exhausted and psychologically broken, Sam confronts the entity and demands an end to the game. His wish is granted in the cruelest way possible. On the real Wednesday, Dean dies in a simple mugging, and this time there's no reset. Months pass, and we see a dark, relentless Sam hunting the trickster until he finally corners him. The lesson was this: Dean is his greatest weakness, and he's destined to die. With a sliver of pity, the trickster rewinds time to before the tragedy, giving the brothers back, but leaving the emotional wound wide open.
Dude, how many Tuesdays did you have?
Enough.
Turned over to the FBI by Bella, Sam and Dean are locked up in a police station by Agent Henriksen right as the town is surrounded by demons. The place becomes the set of a siege movie. Using salt, traps, and a lot of improvisation, the cops and the brothers hold their ground. Ruby shows up with bad news. Lilith is the new boss of hell, and she wants Sam. She offers a suicide spell to solve the problem, but Dean refuses. Plan B is smarter. They let the demons in and blast a recorded exorcism over the station's PA system, expelling the entire horde. The celebration is short-lived. Lilith, possessing a pale little girl, walks in and incinerates the entire building in a blast of white light, killing Henriksen and everyone inside. Ruby gives the brothers spell bags to mask their scent. The war against hell just got personal. The trail of a doctor from 1816, Dr. Bentham, reveals a bizarre secret. The guy is a scientific immortal. He's kept himself alive for centuries by drugging victims and harvesting their organs to replace his own. Desperate to save his brother, Sam even considers using the research to break the deal and steals the doctor's journal, but soon discovers the method doesn't work for demonic packs. Benton kidnaps Sam to harvest his eyes, but Dean arrives just in time. Since he can't kill the immortal, he buries him alive. Meanwhile, Bella tries to kill Sam with the Colt, but fails. About to have her soul collected by hellhounds because of an old deal, she confesses the final piece of the puzzle. Lilith holds all the contracts. The only chance to save Dean is to kill her, but the clock has almost run out. With only 30 hours on the clock, Bobby tracks Lilith to New Harmony. Ruby appears with a plan that sounds too good to be true. Use Sam's psychic powers, since the villain has supposedly let her guard down. The trio storms the house where Lilith was possessing a little girl, but Dean realizes just in time it's a trap and the demon has already jumped to another body. At midnight, it all comes crashing down. Lilith has been in Ruby's body the whole time. The real Ruby? She was sent very, very far away. Lilith paralyzes the brothers and, in front of a helpless Sam, unleashes the hellhounds on Dean. The attack is swift and brutal. When she tries to use her white light to finish Sam, nothing happens. Terrified by his immunity, Lilith flees her host and vanishes.
I don't think so.
The episode ends with Sam cradling his brother's lifeless body and a hard cut to hell, where Dean's soul is strung up by chains and hooks. Game over, at least for now. 4 months after Hell, Dean Winchester claws his way out of a grave like the bride in Kill Bill. There's a bizarre handprint scorched into the ground, and he has no clue how he got out. He tracks down Bobby and then Sam, convinced his little brother made some demonic screw-up to bring him back. But Sam swears up and down he knows nothing, acting more suspicious than a politician in an election year. They call a psychic, Pamela, who manages to catch a name, Castiel. But when she tries to take a peek at this Cass, her eyes are incinerated. Literally, the woman is blinded. Dean and Bobby set a trap, ready to exorcise the demon responsible, but the one who shows up isn't some demon. It's a guy in a trench coat who walks through the trap like it's nothing. He introduces himself as Castiel, an angel of the Lord, and the final bombshell. He was the one who raised Dean from perdition because God has work for him.
Who are you? Castiel. I'm an angel of the Lord. Because we have work for you.
The past comes back to haunt them, only this time, it's with actual ghosts. Hunters start dying at the hands of vengeful spirits, and the Winchesters come face to face with people they couldn't save, like Agent Henriksen and Meg. The situation gets so heavy they lock themselves in Bobby's famous panic room. This whole event has a name, the Rising of the Witnesses, one of the 66 seals to free Lucifer. It's the apocalypse knocking on their door. They manage to perform a ritual to send the ghostly mob back to the great beyond, but the victory leaves a bitter aftertaste. paste. To rub salt in the wound, Castiel appears and confirms their nightmare. Lilith, the demon in charge, is breaking the seals one by one. Her goal is simple: open the devil's cage. The end of the world is no longer a campfire story to scare rookie hunters. Now, it's the next item on their to-do list. Castiel sends Dean on a time travel trip no DeLorean could touch, straight to 1973. The mission is a single word: stop it. There, Dean meets his parents, John and Mary, as a young couple in love. It's a golden opportunity to find the origin of everything, and he does. The secret that screwed the Winchester family forever was a deal. Mary made a pact with Azazel, the yellow-eyed demon, to save John's life, and it was on that night that the demon dripped blood into baby Sam's mouth, sealing his fate. Dean goes full Terminator, trying to kill Azazel and erase history, but he fails miserably and is yanked back to the present. Castiel admits he didn't send him back to change the past, but to show him the truth. Now the mission is different. Dean must stop Sam from going down his dark path. If he doesn't, the angels will, in their own way. The hunt of the week is a Rougarou, a monster that looks human until it's overcome by an uncontrollable hunger for human flesh. The case becomes a giant mirror for the crisis brewing between Sam and Dean. The man they're hunting fights with all his might to not become a full-blown monster, but he eventually gives in and kills another hunter. In a final shred of humanity, he spares his own wife, but when he lunges at Dean, it's over. Sam uses his powers and incinerates the man on the spot. The scene is brutal and leaves a heavy weight in the air. Seeing firsthand what a hunger for power or blood can do to someone makes something click in Sam's head. He decides it's time to hang up his psychic powers, at least for now. It's Halloween Eve, and of course, things are bound to go south. A witch is trying to summon Samhain, a demon who is another of the 66 seals, to unleash the devil. The angel Uriel, who isn't messing around, shows up with a simple solution: blow up the entire town to stop the ritual, Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 style. Dean, not a fan of genocide, stands up to the angel and asks for a chance for them to handle it themselves. The problem? They fail. Big time. Samhain is released, the seal is broken, and the mission goes down the drain. Uriel gets pissed at Sam, threatening the kid for using his demonic tricks to try and stop the witch. But then comes the celestial twist. Castiel admits it was all a test. They wanted to see how Dean would perform as a leader in a no-win situation. Apparently, not even the angels know the right choice to win the war, and things are only going to get worse. A wishing well in a small town turns the place into comical chaos. A giant teddy bear comes to life and gets depressed. A nerdy kid becomes the popular bully, and a random guy gets super strength. At the center of it all is an ancient coin belonging to a goddess named Tiamat. The problem is, only the person who made the wish can undo it, and the newly popular nerd doesn't want to give up his new life. Things only change when a wish goes horribly, horribly wrong, and Sam gets struck by lightning and dies. Desperate, the boy gives in, returns the coin, and everything goes back to normal, with Sam alive and well. In the end, Dean finally admits he remembers every second of hell, but refuses to talk about what he went through. His silence screams louder than any confession.
It is right here. Forever. And I could never make you understand.
The brothers are hunting a girl named Anna Milton, who escaped from a mental institution claiming the apocalypse is coming and that she can hear angels. But the demons, led by Alistair, are after her too. Ruby shows up to save the day, and the family reunion turns into an airing of dirty laundry. Dean hates having to trust a demon, and Sam drops a bombshell. In a flashback, we see that while Dean was rotting in hell, Sam isolated himself and trained his powers with Ruby. He was getting ready for war. The beef between the brothers barely cools down before more people crash the party. Castiel and Uriel appear, demanding they hand over Anna, and they don't seem interested in negotiating. Their message is blunt: give them the girl or prepare for a fight.
She has to die.
The plot twist about Anna is insane. She isn't human. She's an angel who tore out her own grace, her celestial essence, so she could feel things like a normal person. And who stole that grace? The angel Uriel. Meanwhile, Ruby hatches a plan and lets herself get captured by Alistair, pretending to negotiate. Everything converges in a single warehouse. Angels and demons throw down in a scene worthy of the Avengers. In the midst of the chaos, Anna manages to reclaim her grace from Uriel, shines like a supernova, and vaporizes Alistair along with herself, disappearing in the process. we discover that Ruby and Dean's betrayal was all a plan cooked up by Sam to pit heaven against hell and let them destroy each other. Sam Winchester is playing 4D chess. At a convention of washed-up magicians, stage tricks start killing people for real. Jay, an old friend of the magicians, seems to be the culprit, but the truth is more sinister. Charlie, another veteran of the group, discovered an immortality spell and is using the tricks to eliminate the competition. Charlie offers the secret to eternal life to his 3 friends, but Jay refuses. Seeing that Charlie won't stop, Jay decides to take drastic measures and kills his own friend to end the bloodshed. The scene ends with a huge sense of emptiness, old fame that's worthless, one friend dead, and another who turned his back. Seeing all this, Sam makes his own decision. He's going back to training with Ruby. To hunt Lilith, he'll need all the power he can get. A series of bizarre deaths, where husbands kill their wives and vice versa, all in the name of proving their love, leads the brothers to a siren. But this isn't Disney's Ariel. It's a creature that bewitches its victims with a venom, making them become obsessed and violent for the ones they love. And of course, she manages to spit the venom on both Sam and Dean. The spell hits hard, and the brothers fall into a trance of hate, turning on each other with murderous intent. The fight is ugly and only stops when Body bursts in and uses the siren's own venom against them to break the enchantment. After the dust settles, a moral hangover remains. The words they said to each other weren't just magic, they were truths that had been choked back. The crack between them has grown even wider. In a small town, people who should be dead start coming back to life. It's a clear sign that something is wrong with the Reapers, the delivery guys for souls. Alistair, Hell's torturer, has kidnapped 2 of them to break another apocalyptic seal during the solstice. Pamela, the blind psychic, helps Sam and Dean leave their bodies via astral projection to investigate. On the spiritual plane, they run into Tessa, the Reaper Dean met at the hospital. The situation gets complicated when the demons capture Tessa too. The brothers race against the clock, manage to save the Reaper, and return to their bodies. But they're too late to save Pamela, who doesn't survive the strain of the spell, another friend on Hale's scoreboard.
Pamela!
What did she say to you?
Someone is hunting and killing angels, and it's sending heaven into a panic. Castiel and Uriel capture Alistair, the prime suspect, and come up with a terrible idea. They want Dean, Alistair's best student in hell, to go back to torturing to get the truth out of him. Dean hesitates but agrees. Meanwhile, Sam goes to the dark side. He meets with Ruby and drinks her blood to level up his powers. Dean's torture session goes wrong. Alistair breaks free and nearly kills him. That's when Sam arrives, supercharged, and uses his abilities to immobilize the demon and extract the information that it wasn't demons who killed the angels. Castiel puts the pieces together. The traitor is Uriel. He was recruiting angels for Lucifer's team and killing anyone who refused. Anna appears and disintegrates Uriel.
It's another angel.
Maybe.
In the end, Castiel drops the bomb that shatters Dean, the first seal. He was the one who broke it. By torturing souls in hell, Dean kicked off the apocalypse. In the blink of an eye, reality shifts. Dean is a suit-and-tie corporate executive, and Sam works in IT support at the same company. They don't know each other, but strange deaths start happening at the firm, with employees killing themselves in bizarre ways. With no memory of who they are, the two end up using the Ghostfacer's website to learn how to hunt a ghost. The adrenaline of the hunt awakens something in them. Sam gets excited about the idea of quitting his job to hunt monsters. Dean thinks it's insane. That's when their boss, Zachariah, reveals himself to be an angel. He snaps his fingers, returns their memories, and explains the point. Dean can try to be whatever he wants, but he was born to be a hunter. The experience was just a lesson to get him to accept his destiny. End of story. Sam and Dean discover a series of trashy novels called Supernatural, which chronicle their lives with terrifying accuracy. They find the author, Chuck, a geek who has visions of the Winchesters' lives and turns them into books. Castiel shows up and explains the weirdness. Chuck isn't crazy. He's a prophet of the Lord, and prophets come with a heavy-duty security system. If anyone threatens him, an archangel appears to fry the aggressor. Lilith shows up wanting to make a deal, but Sam just wants to kill her. Dean, in a stroke of genius, uses Chuck as a human shield, forcing the archangel to nearly manifest, which sends Lilith running with her tail between her legs. Just as Chuck is about to share his latest, darkest vision, Zachariah appears and shuts him up. Heaven doesn't want its secrets getting out. Dean gets a call from a kid named Adam, who claims to be John Winchester's son. In other words, a brother they never knew they had. It all smells like a trap. But when they investigate, the truth is even worse. Ghouls, creatures that take the form of those they eat, killed Adam and his mother and are now using their identities to lure the brothers. Their goal is revenge, as John killed their father years ago. Sam falls for the ambush. Dean tracks the monsters to a crypt, where he finds the real Adam's body and goes on the attack. The ghouls are eliminated, but the victory is bitter. In the end, they give Adam a hunter's funeral, burning his body. For the Winchesters, the word family seems to be just another synonym for loss. Castiel simply vanishes, leaving behind his human vessel, Jimmy Novak, a regular guy with no memory of his time as an angel. Obviously, the demons find out and kidnap Jimmy's wife and daughter to use as bait to lure Castiel out. Sam and Dean try to help, but the rescue operation goes wrong, and Jimmy is fatally shot. To save the situation, Castiel possesses Jimmy's daughter Claire, defeats the demons, and finally returns to Jimmy's body to spare the girl. The final scene is shocking. An exhausted Sam drinks demon blood in front of Demon Castiel. Seeing that is the last straw for Dean. The trust is gone. He and Bobby lock Sam in the panic room for a forced detox.
For your own good.
Trapped in the panic room, Sam goes through a hellish withdrawal, complete with hallucinations and physical pain. Bobby thinks it's crazy to keep Sam locked up with a war raging outside, but Dean is unmovable. This time, betrayal comes from above. Castiel, following higher orders, frees Sam and even hands the angel Anna over to his superiors. Free. The first thing Sam does is run straight to Ruby and drink more demon blood to get stronger. When Dean finds him, his patience runs out. He tries to kill Ruby, but Sam defends her. The fight between the brothers explodes, raw and brutal. Dean throws it in Sam's face that he's become a monster and tells him to leave. Sam goes. The Winchester duo, as we knew it, ends right there.
Don't you ever come back.
Sam and Ruby capture a demon and torture the creature to find Lilith's whereabouts. Ruby convinces Sam he needs to drink the blood of the host demon itself to become strong enough for the final battle. On the other side, Zachariah imprisons Dean and reveals Heaven's plan. They're going to let Lucifer be freed so they can finally have the ultimate battle and fix the world, with Dean serving as Michael's sword. Dean refuses to be a pawn in their game. In an act of rebellion, Castiel helps Dean escape, banishing Zachariah and telling him the truth. Killing Lilith doesn't stop the apocalypse. She is the final seal. Her death opens the cage. Dean races desperately to stop Sam but arrives too late. Sam, at the peak of his power, kills Lilith. Ruby, a smirk on her face, reveals the truth. She was working for Lucifer all along. Sam and Dean kill her together, but the damage is done. The cage opens. Lucifer is coming. While Dean is on a mission to find the so-called Sword of Michael to put an end to Lucifer, Zachariah hits him with a cold splash of reality. The weapon is actually Dean himself. He is the perfect vessel, the luxury penthouse for the Archangel Michael. Dean, of course, gives him a firm hell no, refusing to be Michael's new tenant. Just then, Castiel shows up in hero mode, gets him out of there, and even hides the brothers from all other angels, making them undetectable. Meanwhile, a sinister parallel story unfolds. We meet Nick, a man completely broken after his family was murdered. It's perfect timing for Lucifer to show up with his classic used car salesman pitch and convince the guy to lend him his body. With a brand new vessel on Earth, the devil can finally get the end of the world party started, and the first step has already been taken. Now hunted by angels, Castiel borrows Dean's amulet, thinking he can use it to track down God. While the angel is off the grid, Sam and Dean get a distress call from River Pass. Once there, they run into a terrified Ellen. It turns out Joe and Rufus are acting as if the entire town is possessed by demons, shooting at anyone they see. The paranoia turns into pandemonium, with everyone suspecting everyone else. But the truth is, there are no demons there. The chaos is the work of war, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, who is manipulating everyone's perception to make the humans kill each other. When they finally manage to rip the ring from the horseman's finger, the illusion shatters instantly. The town returns to normal, but the trust between Sam and Dean is in tatters. Exhausted and wounded inside and out, the brothers decide it's better for each of them to go their own way. Sam tries to live a truly normal life, working as a busboy in a restaurant, but he starts being haunted by visions of Jessica, his deceased girlfriend. It doesn't take long for him to realize it's not grief, but Lucifer in disguise, testing his mental barriers. The devil makes his official offer. Sam was born to be his perfect vessel. Meanwhile, Dean and Castiel hatch a risky plan. They create bait to capture the Archangel Raphael and force him to reveal God's location. The answer is a punch to the gut. God has left the building. He's gone, maybe even dead. And who resurrected Castiel? Lucifer himself, just to stir up more chaos. Surrounded by hunters who hate him and the ghost of his past, Sam shows a strength he didn't know he had. He refuses the devil's offer, who leaves promising that sooner or later he will say yes. Dean is ignoring Sam's calls when suddenly Zachariah appears and flings him 5 years into the future. It's a one-way ticket to a nightmare. The Croatan virus has destroyed the world, all because he refused to be Michael's vessel. In this post-apocalyptic future, he finds an older, broken version of himself, future Dean, and a Lucifer wearing Sam's body. Their plan to kill the devil with the cult goes completely wrong, and future Dean dies in front of him. Back in 2009, Zachariah tries to use this trauma to force Dean to accept the deal, but Castiel arrives in the nick of time and saves the day. The vision of what the future holds is brutal, but it makes Dean make the only decision that matters. He picks up the phone, calls Sam, and the two reunite. After all, they're stronger together.
We make our own future.
Guess we have no choice.
Bizarre deaths are happening in Canton, Ohio. One guy is killed by Little Bastard, James Dean's car. Another is attacked by an evil Abraham Lincoln. And yes, even a ghost of Paris Hilton shows up to kill someone. The investigation leads the brothers to Aleshi, a pagan god who lost his forest and decided to use the wax figures in a local museum as his new vessels. The chase ends inside the museum, with Sam and Dean facing off against the wax version of Paris Hilton. They manage to take down the god with an iron axe, putting an end to the wave of bizarre murders. With the case solved, Dean's mistrust of Sam eases up a bit. It's a small step, but it's a real step toward mending their partnership. The trickster is back, and this time, he traps the brothers in a TV land loop. It's a nightmare marathon. They become doctors in a Grey's Anatomy-style drama, participate in a bizarre Japanese game show, star in a sitcom with a laugh track, and even become cops in a procedural series. Each show is an attempt by the trickster to convince them to accept their destinies as vessels for Michael and Lucifer. In a CSI scene, Sam even turns into the Impala in a parody of Knight Rider.
Where are you?
I don't know. Oh, I don't think we killed the trickster.
Suspecting their enemy is more than just a demigod, they trap him in a ring of holy oil. The mask finally comes off. The trickster is the Archangel Gabriel, who fled heaven and just wants the family feud to end. Dean calls him a coward, but frees him anyway. The celestial beef continues. A supernatural fan convention filled with Sam and Dean cosplayers turns into a real case. Ghostly deaths start happening, and all signs point to the legend of Letitia, a woman who supposedly haunts the venue. With the help of two fake Sams and Deans, the real brothers burn her remains, but it does nothing. Trapped, they discover that the real ghosts are the housekeeper's sons, 3 boys who killed Letitia's own son in the past. She was never the villain of the story. After the case is solved, Becky, the super fan, gives them the missing clue. The cult wasn't destroyed, but was passed on to Crowley, the demon who loves to make a deal when it suits him. The hunt for the most powerful gun in the universe is back on. Crowley, the king of the crossroads, is terrified. He knows that after Lucifer is done with humans, demons are next on the list. So he kills his own henchmen and hands the cult over to the Winchesters. With the gun in hand, Sam, Dean, Joe, Ellen, and Castiel head to Carthage, Missouri. The town is deserted but filled with reapers awaiting the arrival of death. Meg, Lucifer's disciple, unleashes the hellhounds. In the chaos, Joe is mortally wounded. In one of the most heartbreaking moments of the series, mother and daughter sacrifice themselves, blowing up the building to kill the hounds and give the others a chance to escape.
It's okay. You can go straight back to hell, you ugly bitch.
Dean confronts Lucifer and fires the Colt, but the devil just laughs. He's one of the 5 things in the universe the gun can't kill. Amidst the chaos, Castiel saves the brothers at the last second, teleporting them away just as death arrives. The angel Anna travels back in time to 1978 with one clear goal: kill Mary Campbell and prevent Sam Winchester from ever being born. Castiel takes the brothers after her, and the time travel mayhem begins. Dean is forced to reveal the truth to his own mother, telling her they are her sons from the future, only to discover she's already pregnant with John's child. Anna and a young Uriel attack. In the fight, Sam ends up dead. Just as Mary is about to be executed, the Archangel Michael appears, possessing John Winchester's body. He incinerates Anna, banishes Uriel, and resurrects Sam with a touch. Michael makes it clear that the Winchesters' destiny as descendants of Cain and Abel is set in stone. They will be the vessels for Michael and Lucifer. Before returning the brothers to the present, he erases Mary and John's memories, ensuring the future happens as it's meant to. A series of deaths by overindulgence. A guy eats until he explodes. Another drinks water until his body collapses, points to the presence of famine. Another horseman of the apocalypse. He not only amplifies people's desires to deadly levels, but also devours their souls. His power is so great that even Castiel succumbs, attacking a fridge full of raw hamburger meat. Dean, on the other hand, is immune. Famine reveals why. He's so empty inside that he no longer desires anything. But Sam, in the throes of withdrawal, relapses and gives in to his craving for demon blood. In the final showdown, it's Sam who turns the tables. Supercharged with power, he exorcises all the demons inside Famine, causing the horsemen to implode. But the price is high. Bobby locks him in the panic room for a forced detox, and a completely broken Dean prays for help for the first time.
Please. I need some help. Please.
After being killed by other hunters, Sam and Dean wake up in heaven. Castiel contacts them and gives them a mission: find an angel named Joshua, the only one who still talks to God, while dodging a furious Zachariah. Their journey through heaven takes them through key moments of their lives, until they finally reach the Garden of Eden. There, Joshua delivers God's message, and it's devastating. He knows everything, but he will not intervene. He wants them to stand down and let the apocalypse happen. Back on Earth, Castiel, upon hearing the news, loses his faith completely. He returns the amulet Dean gave him, saying it's worthless now. In silence, Dean walks to a trash can and throws the amulet away as if burying his last drop of hope. The brothers arrive in a town where the entire population is training to fight demons, led by a pastor and his daughter Leah. The problem is, Leah starts receiving divine visions to cleanse the town of sinners, and things turn into a witch hunt. Sam and Dean discover that the real Leah has been replaced by the Whore of Babylon, an apocalyptic creature that feeds on sin and causes death. The only way to kill her is with a stake from a Babylonian cypress tree, wielded by a true servant of heaven. In the final confrontation, Dean, who just threw his faith in the trash, wields the stake and manages to kill the creature. The irony is cruel. Even without believing anymore, heaven still considers him one of its servants. On the verge of giving up and agreeing to be Michael's vessel, Dean is abducted by Sam, Castiel, and Bobby and locked in the panic room. With Plan A failing, the angels move to Plan B. They resurrect Adam, the Winchester half-brother, to be the new vessel. Zachariah captures Adam and tortures both him and Sam in front of Dean to force him to say yes. Dean comes up with a risky plan. He pretends he's going to accept, but with one condition. First, Michael has to kill Zachariah. The arrogant angel, thinking he's won, approaches to be expelled from the body, and Dean stabs him with an angel blade, killing him for good. In the escape, Adam is left behind and is vaporized by Michael's arrival. Dean apologizes to Sam. The family won the battle but lost one of its own in the process. Gods from various mythologies, Kali, Odin, Mercury, gather at a hotel and kidnap humans. They want to use Sam and Dean as bargaining chips to force Lucifer to stop the apocalypse. Among the hostages, Dean finds Gabriel, alive. The Archangel admits he can't bring himself to kill his own brother, Lucifer. Mercury, impatient, betrays everyone and calls the devil. Lucifer arrives and unleashes a massacre, killing all the pagan gods one by one. Gabriel finally picks a side, creates a distraction for the Winchesters to escape, and confronts Lucifer, declaring his loyalty to humanity. He dies trying to protect the people he learned to love in a videotape left behind. he delivers the final strategy. Lucifer can't be killed, but he can be imprisoned back in the cage with the 4 rings of the Horseman. The hunt for the jewels of the apocalypse begins.
2 rings down. Collect all 4.
All we need is pestilence and death.
Oh, is that all?
It's a plan.
Crowley reappears and offers to help find Brady, the demon running the Croatan virus tests and Pestilence's right-hand man. Upon capturing him, Brady reveals 2 truths that destroy Sam from the inside out. He's possessing the body of one of Sam's best friends from college, and he was the one who killed Jessica on Azazel's orders, all to push Sam back into the hunting life. Sam holds back his vengeful impulse long enough for Crowley to force Brady to reveal Pestilence's location. Only after getting the information does Sam kill him. To seal the deal, Crowley demands a steep price from Bobby for the location of Death His Soul. The team goes after Pestilence, but the Horseman takes them down with a barrage of diseases. The tables only turn when Castiel, immune, manages to rip off his ring, but not before hearing a warning. It's too late. Crowley then reveals the deal he made with Bobby, who regains the use of his legs in exchange for his soul. The group splits up. Sam, Bobby, and Castiel go to contain the spread of the Croatan virus, while Dean and Crowley head to Chicago to find Death. They find him in a quiet pizzeria, surrounded by corpses, calm and inevitable. The Horseman gives his ring to Dean on one condition. He must allow Sam to say yes to Lucifer so they can lure him into the cage. With all 4 rings and the instructions in hand, all that's left is for Dean to decide what he fears more, losing the world or losing his brother. It's the end game. Sam's plan is to accept being Lucifer's vessel and try to overpower him from the inside, but he's instantly subjugated. Chup narrates the location of the final battle, a cemetery and stall. There, Castiel attacks Michael with holy fire, but Lucifer, bored, snaps his fingers and obliterates Cass. He then snaps Bobby's neck and begins to beat Dean to death, but a glint from the Impala's ashtray, a little green army man Sam stuck in there as a kid, awakens memories of his past. Sam regains control for a fleeting moment. It's enough. He uses the 4 rings, opens the cage, and throws himself in, taking Lucifer with him. Michael tries to stop him and gets pulled in too. With the crisis averted, Castiel reappears, now more powerful, heals Dean, and resurrects Bobby. Cass ascends to heaven to try and clean up the mess. Dean, honoring the promise he made to Sam, goes to Lisa and Ben's house to try and have the normal life his brother wanted for him. And across the street, in the shadows, Sam watches, alive, as his brother chooses the peace he was always denied. A year has passed, and Dean is trying to live the picket fence life with Lisa and Ben. Everything seems normal, until strange phenomena force him to dust off his hunting boots. And in the middle of the chaos, who shows up out of nowhere? As if he just went out for bread? Sam, alive and well, and worse. He never told his brother he was back. Sam doesn't return alone. He brings along the Campbell family, the Hunter relatives from his mother's side, led by Grandpa Samuel, who also got a return ticket from the great beyond. As Jim start targeting people connected to Dean like supernatural stalkers, Grandpa Samuel proves he's no Boy Scout and quietly captures one of the monsters. Dean is torn between 2 worlds, normal life or the road. For now, he decides to go back to Lisa and Ben, but he makes Sam a promise. Keep in touch, preferably without disappearing for a whole year again.
It was really good to see you again, Dean.
The Winchesters' new mission feels like an episode of a cop show, dead parents, and missing babies. Sam finds one of the newborns and calls Dean, but the baby is actually a shapeshifter, and Grandpa Samuel already has plans to turn the little monster into a mini-hunter like an evil baby Yoda. Dean obviously thinks the idea is insane. The situation gets serious when the alpha shapeshifter invades their location and takes the child, revealing that a much bigger plan is unfolding behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Samuel secretly talks to someone on the phone, promising to capture the alpha. Grandpa is definitely up to something. In the end, Lisa gives Dean her blessing to return to hunting, on one condition: he has to promise he'll always come home. It's the kind of promise you just know is going to cause problems down the line. Deaths that look like biblical plagues? You can bet it's a Winchester case. The investigation leads the brothers to the Staff of Moses, which a crooked angel named Balthazar broke into pieces and is selling in exchange for souls, like a collector's item on eBay. Castiel shows up to put the rogue angel in in his place, but Raphael, the head honcho angel, joins the fray to crash the party. At the climax of the chaos, Balthazar simply vaporizes Raphael's vessel and vanishes into thin air. Dean manages to trap Balthazar and demands he return a boy's soul, but Castiel arrives, frees his new ally, and leaves with him, leaving Sam and Dean with more questions than answers. It seems the war in heaven has turned into a total free-for-all. Bobby is in full multitask mode. While trying to figure out how to get his soul back from Crowley, he's putting out fires everywhere. He helps Rufus deal with an Okami, throws an FBI agent off his trail, and still finds time to be Dean's therapist. Basically, Bobby has become the call center for the Hunter world. His research reveals that Crowley, in his human life, was a Scotsman named Fergus MacLeod. With the help of Crowley's own son's ghost, Bobby gets leverage to negotiate. Sam and Dean join in, threatening to burn the demon's bones in Scotland. With no way out, the King of Hell caves. He breaks the contract and returns Bobby's soul. Score 1 for the good guys. The brothers are hunting vampires, but things go south fast. Dean is jumped and turned by a master vampire named Boris, and Sam watches the whole thing with stone-cold indifference, not lifting a finger. Grandpa Samuel shows up and claims there's a cure, the blood of the vampire that sired him. Classic. Dean, now a temporary vampire, goes on a solo mission. He infiltrates the nest, discovers the alpha vampire has a plan to build an army, and, in the process, cleans out the entire hive before getting the cure. Back to normal, suspicion hits him hard. He realizes Sam let the bite happen on purpose. The trust between the Winchesters has just been shattered. A goddess of truth named Veritas is in town, forcing people to spill truth so brutal they end up dying. Her power affects Dean, who wastes no time cornering Sam about the vampire incident. When they finally confront the goddess, she drops a bombshell. Sam is immune to her power. Why? Simple. He has no truth to tell because for all intents and purposes, everything he says is a lie. He's a pathological liar. After they defeat Veritas, Sam finally admits the obvious. Yes, he let Dean get turned. Dean's reaction is devastating and direct. A single punch that knocks his brother out cold. Castiel examines Sam and confirms the diagnosis. The guy is soulless. That's why he doesn't sleep, feel fear, or experience guilt. Nothing. He's become a T-800 with great hair. And to make matters worse, Crowley appears and lays his cards on the table. He's the one who pulled Sam from hell, and he's also the one controlling Grandpa Samuel. The King of Hell now has an indecent proposal. He wants the Winchesters to work for him, capturing alpha monsters. Samuel tries to justify himself, claiming he only collects the monsters. He doesn't kill them. But Sam, even without a soul, makes a chilling promise. The first chance he gets, he's going to end Crowley. The hunt has just become a mandatory gig. Crowley makes a tempting offer. Sam's soul in exchange for capturing an alpha. He sends the brothers to a case that looks like werewolves, but turns out to be skinwalkers, monsters that can shapeshift into dogs and infiltrate families. In the midst of the chaos, they meet Lucky, a skinwalker who had a change of heart and decided to switch sides. He helps the Winchesters take down the pack, which was planning to turn entire families into monsters. The operation is a success, and Lucky survives, left to carry the guilt of nearly betraying the human family he'd grown to love. At least one story with a semi-happy ending in the middle of all this chaos. The demon Meg reappears, and she wants only one thing: Crowley's head. Samuel ends up revealing that the King of Hell has a secret prison where he tortures monsters to find the location of Purgatory. The raid on the facility goes completely sideways. Crowley's hellhounds destroy Meg's demons, and Grandpa Samuel betrays his own grandsons to save his own skin. Sam and Dean turn the tables, cornering Crowley and learning the truth. He can't actually return Sam's soul. Just then, Cass returns and burns Crowley's bones. But in the end, Sam drops another bombshell. Maybe it's better to just stay soulless. Dean decides to appeal to the highest authority and makes a deal with Death himself. The plan? He'll become a Reaper for 24 hours, and in return, Death will retrieve Sam's soul. But the mission goes wrong when Dean's soft spot gets the best of him, and he spares a little girl her fate. He learns the hard way that messing with the natural order has deadly consequences. Meanwhile, soulless Sam tries to prevent his own soul from returning. The guy even plots to kill Bobby to use the blood of his father in a blocking spell. Death reveals it was all a test to teach Dean a lesson. He makes good on his part of the deal, returning the soul to Sam, who collapses, overwhelmed by an unimaginable agony.
You don't know what'll happen to me.
Sam wakes up with a convenient case of amnesia. He doesn't remember anything from his time without a soul. Soon, a new case pops up. virgins disappearing in Portland. The investigation points to dragons and a sinister ritual to bring the mother of all into the world. With the help of an immortal professor named Ellie and a special sword forged with dragon's blood, the brothers manage to kill one of the monsters, but it's too late. Another dragon completes the ritual, and from the flames of the portal emerges Eve, the mother of all monsters. The threat level has just been raised to the max.
Let's get started.
A new case brings an unexpected side effect, flashbacks. Sam begins to remember a hunt he went on with his grandfather Samuel where they faced an arachne, a spider woman. The memory is brutal. He recalls using the local sheriff as bait and then executing the survivors, who he deemed irreversible. The truth behind the monster comes to light. The arachne didn't kill. She turned her victims into new creatures. The sheriff, now a monster, returns seeking revenge. Dean manages to save Sam in time, but the mental wall protecting Sam's mind begins to crack, bringing back increasingly horrific flashes of his time in hell.
Sammy? Sammy! Sammy, talk!
Balthazar, the ever-prankster angel, decides to stir up trouble again. He throws Sam and Dean into an alternate reality where they aren't hunters, but actors named Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki. And the weirdest part, they star in a TV show called Supernatural. The fourth wall is completely shattered. An angelic assassin hunts them in this new world, but without his powers, he's just a guy with a knife. When the brothers finally return to their reality, they discover it was all a giant smokescreen. The key the angel was looking for was bait to distract Raphael, while Castiel stole the weapons of heaven. Sam and Dean realize they've become mere pawns in heaven's civil war. Eve, the mother of all, unleashes her new biological weapon, a worm-like parasite that enters through the ear and controls people. Paranoia sets in fast. Dean is the first to be infected and, under its control, kills the hunter Gwen. The worm then jumps to Grandpa Samuel, forcing Sam to shoot his own grandfather. In a grim game of distrust, the parasite moves to Bobby, who ends up killing his longtime friend Rufus before being electrocuted. The trio of survivors, Sam, Dean, and Bobby, bury another friend, paying the highest price for this never-ending war. Accidents that look like they're straight out of the movie Final Destination, and a reality where Ellen is alive all point to a shift in the timeline. The cause? The Titanic never sank. Castiel sent Balthazar to prevent the shipwreck to generate more souls and strengthen his army in the Celestial War. The problem is that one of the fates, Atropos, didn't appreciate the mess and starts correcting the timeline, putting the Winchesters on her hit list. To prevent a greater catastrophe, Cass undoes the change. The Titanic sinks once more, and everything returns to its tragic original course. To defeat Eve, the mother of all, the brothers need a rare ingredient, Phoenix Ashes. The journal of the legendary hunter Samuel Colt sends them on a time-traveling trip straight to the Old West of 1861. There, they find Elias Finch, the fire spirit, burning local authorities. While Sam convinces Samuel Colt himself to help with the mission, Dean manages to find and kill the Phoenix. The problem is, Castiel yanks the brothers back to the present before they can collect the ashes. But, in a movie-worthy twist, a package arrives from the past. Colt, the genius, sent the ashes via time-traveling mail. Mission saved.
Ashes of a phoenix.
With the Phoenix Ashes in hand, the team goes after Eve, who has set up her evil laboratory in Oregon, creating bizarre monster hybrids. In a diner that feels like a final movie showdown, Eve reveals her trump card. Crowley is alive and working with her, both of them after the power of the souls in purgatory. Dean, in an act of desperation and brilliance, drinks a shot of whiskey mixed with the ashes. When Eve bites him, she poisons herself and dies from the inside out.
Dean!
1 shell, 1 ounce of whiskey.
Shut your eyes!
After the dust settles, Crowley appears, but he's not there for the Winchesters. He's there to call out Castiel for the messes the Angel has made. It becomes crystal clear that the two have been working together behind everyone's backs. Now we see the story from Castiel's side. He justifies the civil war in heaven as a way to stop Raphael from restarting the apocalypse. Crowley pressures him to get rid of the Winchesters, but Cass refuses. Sam and Dean, suspicious, set a trap and catch the Angel in a ring of holy fire, demanding the truth. That's when Crowley shows shows up to save Castiel, confirming the partnership between them. Later, alone, Cass prays and asks God for a sign. What he gets is silence. He interprets this not as abandonment, but as divine permission to see his risky plan through to the end. Crowley plays dirty and kidnaps Lisa and Ben to blackmail Dean. At the same time, Bobby discovers that the key to opening Purgatory is linked to an H.P. Lovecraft manuscript and an immortal survivor, Professor Ellie. Balthazar, sensing betrayal, switches sides and helps Dean rescue Lisa, who was possessed by a demon. Cass heals her, but Dean asks him for a terrible favor to protect them for good: erase all of Lisa and Ben's memories of him. As Dean grieves the loss, Castiel secretly captures Ellie. The Purgatory plan is about to be set in motion. The mental wall protecting Sam's mind finally crumbles. The memories of his soulless period and his time in hell begin to invade his consciousness, destroying him from the inside. Balthazar, realizing Castiel has gone too far, betrays the angel and gives Dean and Bobby Crowley's location. But it's an ambush, and demons surround them. Castiel confronts Crowley and discovers he's been double-crossed too. The demon has allied with Raphael. Pretending to retreat, Cass executes his master plan. He deceives them both, opens the gate to Purgatory alone, and absorbs all the monster souls into himself. With unimaginable power, he becomes omnipotent, obliterates Raphael, and declares himself the new god, giving Sam, Dean, and Bobby an ultimatum: kneel or perish.
I'm your new god. And profess your love unto me, your lord, or I shall destroy you.
He goes around fixing the world in his own style, like an intern with way too much power. But the bill soon comes due. Along with the souls from Purgatory, he swallowed the Leviathans, ancient and hungry creatures straight out of an H.P. Lovecraft nightmare. The monsters begin to take over his body from the inside, turning the angel into a puppet. Sam, Dean, and Bobby team up to force Cass to return the souls in a sort of cosmic exorcism. The plan works. The souls go back to Purgatory, but the Leviathans stick around for the after-party. Unable to contain the infestation, Castiel loses control for good. The angel's vessel becomes an Uber for the monsters, who now walk the earth ready to unleash chaos. With Castiel out of the picture, the Leviathans waste no time and claim Sioux Falls General Hospital as their new all-you-can-eat buffet. Meanwhile, Sam's head becomes the devil's personal playground. He starts hallucinating Lucifer and can no longer tell what's real and what's just another prank from hell. The situation gets even more tense when the brothers face off against Edgar, one of the Leviathans, in a fight that ends with Dean getting a broken leg and Sam passing out cold. To top off the streak of bad luck, they both end up being taken to the very hospital infested with monsters. With Dean immobilized and Sam's mind sinking deeper into the pit, things have never been worse. Bobby shows up as the guardian angel he always was, rescues the brothers from the hospital, and they go off the grid for a few weeks, long enough for Dean's leg to heal. Back in action, a case leads them to Amy, a kitsune Sam met in the past. As usual, Sam decides to play the good guy and spares the creature, believing she can change. But Dean, who wouldn't trust a monster even if it was gift-wrapped, has other plans. He secretly tracks Amy down and kills her, following the old family motto: hunt first, ask questions never.
He always does. I'm sorry.
This secret becomes a ticking time bomb between the brothers, and we all know that sooner or later, the fuse is going to run out. The Leviathans prove they're masters of plagiarism and create perfect doppelgangers of Sam and Dean. The clones go on a crime spree, turning the brothers into the most wanted men in the country. Their luck turns when a sheriff sees the monsters shapeshift with her own eyes and decides to help the duo. The hunt for the fake Winchesters ends with an even more painful blow. In the middle of the chaos, Sam finally finds out that Dean killed Amy, the kitsune he had spared. The trust between them, already hanging by a thread, snaps completely. The truth came out in the worst way possible, and now the Winchesters' partnership is in pieces. Their next destination is Lilydale, the psychic capital of the world, where a vengeful spirit is taking out phony psychics one by one. While Dean holds down the fort, Sam uses his nerdy side to investigate the haunting's origin, finds the remains, and salts and burns them, sending the ghost back to the great beyond. With the case closed, it's time for the talk. The brothers finally confront the issue over Amy. Dean, in a rare moment of vulnerability, apologizes. Sam, understanding the weight of a hunter's life, accepts. The partnership is patched up, the trust is still fragile, but they're back on the road together. For now, that's what matters.
The curve's got me past everything since kindergarten, so don't knock it.
Whatever you say.
Becky, the #1 fan of the supernatural books, decides she wants to live out her own fanfiction. She makes a deal with a crossroads demon, gets a love potion, and drugs Sam, dragging him into a shotgun wedding in Las Vegas. Dean, sensing something is very wrong, teams up with Garth, a hunter as weird as he is effective. Together, they unravel the whole scheme, exorcise the demon, and break the spell. Sam comes to his senses just in time to annul the marriage, and Becky, well, Becky goes on her way, but with her eyes now on Garth. For the Winchesters, it's just another bizarre day at the office before hitting the road again. A string of bizarre deaths, linked to a sandwich called the turducken, leads the brothers to a disgusting discovery. The Leviathans are using food additives to test a formula that makes humans docile and easy to devour, basically turning the population into happy cattle. Dick Roman, the CEO-like monster boss, shuts down the experiment before it draws too much attention. In the middle of the investigation, Bobby is captured. Sam and Dean manage to rescue him, but during the escape, Dick fires a shot. The bullet hits Bobby, and what was a victory turns into a desperate race against death.
Bobby? Oh, God. Bobby! Bobby! Bobby!
Bobby is in a coma, but the fight isn't over yet. In his mind, he's running through a labyrinth of memories, fleeing a Reaper who has come to take him. At the same time, he needs to remember a crucial sequence of numbers for the war against the Leviathans. It's a race against time inside his own head. For a brief moment, Bobby manages to wake up. With the little strength he has left, he writes the code on Sam's hand, and then he's gone. The goodbye is silent, heavy, and leaves a void impossible to fill.
Bobby?
But he left one last weapon for the boys he raised. During a hunt for Kronos, the Titan of Time, things get out of control. Dean is accidentally pulled back to the year 1944, right in the middle of World War II. There, he teams up with none other than Elliot Ness, the famous federal agent who also happens to be a hunter. Meanwhile, in the present, Sam and Sheriff Mills race against the clock to find a way to bring Dean back. In the end, Kronos is defeated, but before he falls, he leaves a dark prophecy. The Winchester brothers' future will be covered in black ooze, a sinister omen that the war against the Leviathans is far from over. A possession from the past comes back to haunt Sam and Dean in Idaho. Jeffrey, who the brothers thought was a survivor, is actually trying to summon the same demon again, addicted to the feeling of power he felt when he was possessed. Nora, a librarian who lost her son to Jeffrey's cult, ends up being the key to exorcising the evil and saving his soul. For Sam, the case is the final straw. Exhausted and tormented by hallucinations of Lucifer, he stops fighting and lets the devil take up residence in his head. With that, sleep becomes a luxury he can no longer afford. A ballerina literally dances to death after putting on a pair of cursed slippers. The trail of cursed objects leads the brothers to Joyce, a real estate agent who is buying up the entire town for the Leviathans. The monstrous plan is sinister. Set up philanthropic wellness centers that are actually fronts to expand their influence and prepare the ground for the human slaughter. As if that weren't enough, the brothers find the trailer of Frank, their hacker ally, empty and covered in blood. All the leads they had are gone, and the Leviathans prove they are always one step ahead. Sam is on the verge of a total breakdown, his mind shattered by the devil. Desperate, Dean searches for a miracle and finds Emmanuel, a mysterious healer who is actually an amnesiac Castiel, like an angel who's had his factory settings rebooted. Meg, the demon, joins them as an unlikely escort to the hospital where Sam is being held. A battle against other demons restores Castiel's memories. To save Sam, Cass makes the ultimate sacrifice. He absorbs all the madness and torment of hell into himself. Sam is freed, but Castiel becomes the new prisoner of his own mind, a broken and silent angel.
We can't protect him. Not really.
The hunter Annie disappears inside an old mansion, and the Winchesters go to investigate. The place is infested, not only with the spirit of a serial killer, but also with the ghosts of all his victims. The situation seems impossible until help arrives from the most unexpected place. Bobby, now a ghost, tied to the flask Dean carries. With their old friend back in ethereal form, they manage to figure out what's trapping the souls, burn the right remains, and finally set all the spirits free. The house is clean, and the brothers have a new ghostly member on their team. team. Bobby, now with Ghost access to behind-the-scenes info, reveals the Leviathan's master plan to turn all of humanity into a docile, happy herd, a renewable human food farm. Meanwhile, Charlie, a hacker working for Dick Roman, discovers the truth on her own and decides to switch sides, helping the brothers steal crucial information. The mission is a success, but Bobby's spirit, increasingly consumed by rage, starts showing signs of becoming a vengeful ghost. For her own safety, Charlie has to disappear, entering the Winchester's version of a witness protection program. The clay tablet stolen from Dick Roman isn't just any artifact. It contains the Word of God, dictated by the celestial scribe Metatron. As soon as the tablet is found, a student named Kevin is activated as a new prophet, the only one capable of deciphering the text. The news spreads fast, and it's not just the Winchesters who want the kid. The Angels also get in on the action, wanting the word for themselves. A desperate race begins to protect Kevin and translate the text, which may be the only weapon capable of turning the tide against the Leviathans. The race against time intensifies. Dick Roman kidnaps Kevin's mother to force the boy to cooperate while accelerating his plan to distribute his zombifying additive in all of the country's food supply. To create the anti-Leviathan weapon, Sam and Dean need a rare ingredient, the blood of an alpha vampire. The negotiation is tense, but they get what they need. Meanwhile, Bobby's ghost, increasingly consumed by hatred, nearly crosses the line into becoming a dangerous, vengeful spirit. The team has everything they need, but their mentor's rage could put it all at risk. With the Word of God translated and all the ingredients in hand, it's time for the final blow. Sam, Dean, Meg, and a more focused Castiel prepare the consecrated bone, the only thing that can kill Dick Roman for good. They storm the Leviathan headquarters, and the battle explodes. Dean manages to stab Roman with the bone, and the monster Kingpin explodes in a shower of black goo. Victory, except not quite. The spell has a brutal side effect. It drags Dean and Castiel straight to Purgatory, an eternal battleground for the souls of all monsters. In a flash, Castiel disappears, and Dean is left alone, surrounded by everything he's ever hunted. The war on Earth may be over, but for him, a new and much worse one is just beginning. Dean finally finds a way to bust out of Purgatory, and he didn't come alone. He brought back a friendship with a vampire named Benny, but the reunion with Sam is anything but happy. While Dean was in the green hell, Sam simply quit the hunting life, not even bothering to look for his brother. It's like your co-op partner dropping the controller during the final boss. Meanwhile, we meet the new version of the prophet Kevin, a kid hardened by life, who escaped Crowley's clutches and is now carrying the demon tablet under his arm. The Winchesters find him in a trap, but the King of Hell isn't far behind. Crowley corners the group and demands Kevin get back to work for him. The kid refuses, and with the brothers' help, he manages to escape once more. But now, he's become Hell's #1 target. To make the message crystal clear, Crowley commits the ultimate evil. In an act of pure villainy, he kills Channing, Kevin's girlfriend. The message is short and brutal. Things just got personal, and the war has truly begun. Sam and Dean try to play bodyguard for Kevin and his mom, but the plan falls apart. Crowley, always one step ahead, manages to steal the demon tablet at a supernatural auction, like an eBay for demonic artifacts. With the prize in hand, he vanishes. Tired of having the Winchesters around and only getting screwed over by their protection, Kevin takes his mom and disappears too, leaving the brothers high and dry. With no case to solve, Dean's mind drifts back to the one place he wants to forget, Purgatory. In flashbacks, we see that he and his vampire buddy Benny formed an unlikely duo, scouring that green hell in search of Castiel. They even found the Angel, forming a trio for a while. But the big question hanging in the air is, what the hell happened to Cass after that? How did he disappear again? And why did Dean have to escape alone? The flashback shows the reunion but keeps the secret of what really went down. Dean decides to lend a hand to his Purgatory pal, the vampire Benny, who needs to hunt down his own maker. The mission gets complicated when they discover that Andrea, Benny's long-lost love, was also turned into a vampire and now has ambitious plans to seize power and become the new Nest leader. Dean and Benny show no mercy, and in true John Wick fashion, storm the den and wipe out almost everyone. The final showdown is with Andrea, who tries to usurp power by force. Seeing that she wouldn't back down, Dean doesn't hesitate and kills the vampire to save his friend. While Dean deals with the vampire drama, Sam's mind travels to the past. In flashbacks, we see how he met Amelia, the veterinarian he fell in love with during his year of retirement. The contrast is stark. On one side, Dean's brutal loyalty. On the other, the normal life Sam abandoned. It's clear the difference between their two worlds is still going to cause a lot of friction. Look who's back. Garth, the most zen and hug-happy hunter of the bunch, joins the Winchesters to investigate a series of revenge-fueled rampages. People are simply losing control and attacking their old enemies. The cause is a cursed Civil War coin that acts as a hate amplifier, turning anyone into the Punisher. Turns out, Garth, with his peaceful, good vibes nature, is immune to the curse. He's the only one who can hold the coin without being consumed by the desire to kill someone. With his usual goofy style, he grabs the object and manages to destroy it, ending the town's revenge spree. While the case of the week has a humorous touch, Sam remains trapped in his own drama. The flashbacks of his life with Amelia continue, showing the painful contrast between the peace he found and the violent life on the road he was forced to resume. Out of nowhere, Castiel reappears, but he's not okay. Weak and with a memory full of holes, he can't quite remember how he escaped purgatory. The Angel's return coincides with Crowley's new plan: kidnap all the potential prophets, young people who could replace Kevin if he died, to blackmail the kid into translating the demon tablet faster. In the middle of the rescue mission, the chaos is so intense that Castiel ends up breaking the tablet in two, like a cookie. Crowley, ever the opportunist, manages to escape with one half. Now, each side has a piece of the puzzle. At the end, the bombshell drops. Castiel tells Dean the truth. He wasn't abandoned in purgatory. He chose to stay there to atone for his sins. All the guilt and weight Dean had been carrying for leaving his friend behind was for nothing, completely changing the dynamic between them. The deaths of the week look like they're straight out of a Looney Tunes episode. Anvils falling from the sky, painted holes on the ground becoming real, and people dying in cartoonish ways. The investigation leads the brothers to a retirement home and a patient named Fred Jones, an elderly man with reality warping psychic powers. A scumbag doctor is exploiting his abilities to get rid of his enemies. The strategy is to divide and conquer. Dean deals with the doctor in the real world, while Sam and Castiel take an Inception-style trip into Fred's mind, trying to bring him back to consciousness. When Fred finally wakes up, he uses his powers one last time to force the doctor to delete himself from the world. Afterward, he asks Castiel to erase his powers, preferring to live out the rest of his days debilitated rather than risk hurting anyone else. And in the parallel soap opera of Sam's flashbacks, he finally discovers Amelia's secret. Her husband, who everyone thought was dead, is actually alive. Dean's burner phone rings. It's Benny, his vampire friend, asking for help. It seems another vampire, Desmond, is committing crimes and framing Benny for them. Dean has to go alone because, in an act of staggering mistrust, he sends a fake text to Sam, pretending to be Amelia and saying she was in danger. Sam, of course, takes the bait and rushes to Texas. While Dean investigates, he falls into a trap, but Benny shows up and saves his life, killing Desmond and proving his innocence in the process. On the other side of the country, Sam arrives and discovers his brother's deception. To make matters worse, he runs into Amelia, who is perfectly fine, starting her life over with her back from the dead husband. Dean's trick not only failed, but also destroyed the last shred of trust that remained between the brothers. This time, the fight is serious. The fight between the brothers reaches its breaking point, with Sam giving an ultimatum: "It's me or your vampire friend Benny." But before Dean can choose, Castiel appears, asking for help to rescue the angel Samandriel, who is being tortured by Crowley. During the session, the angel accidentally blurts out a secret to the King of Hell: the existence of the Angel Tablet. With a new artifact to covet, Crowley lays off the Winchesters for a while. The rescue is successful, but the damage is already done. To move forward, the brothers decide to close the books on their past entanglements. Sam goes to Amelia and ends things for good. Dean calls Benny and cuts ties in a painful farewell. Now, alone in the world but together again, they embrace a new purpose: to find and complete the 3 trials to close the gates of hell for good. The case of the week leads the brothers to an unusual place, a live-action role-playing event in the woods called Moondor. Players are turning up dead for real, with a strange Celtic symbol branded on their bodies. And who do they find among the crowd dressed as elves and knights? The nerd queen herself, Charlie Bradbury, who is the queen of one of the game's kingdoms. The investigation reveals that the killer isn't a person, but a real fairy named Gilda, who is being controlled by a spell. The mastermind is Jerry, a frustrated player who is using magic to eliminate his rivals in the game. Charlie, like a true hero, manages to find a spell book and destroy it, freeing Gilda. Hilda. The fairy, furious, takes Jerry to be judged in her own magical realm. After the adventure, Charlie decides she's done running from who she is and offers to be the Winchester's official hacker ally. A time portal opens in the Winchester's motel room, and out steps a man in an old-fashioned trench coat, Henry Winchester, the grandfather they never knew. He has traveled from 1958, fleeing from Abaddon, a night of hell. Henry comes bearing a revelation that changes everything. The Winchester family isn't just made up of hunters. They descend from a secret society of occult scholars called the Men of Letters. He also carries a key that opens the Order's hideout, a vast repository of supernatural knowledge. Abaddon has followed him to the present, possessing the wife of the last living man of letters, killing him and kidnapping Sam. During the hostage exchange, Dean manages to trap Abaddon in a devil's trap. Since they can't kill her, the brutal solution is to make the body disappear and bury it in concrete. Unfortunately, Henry dies in the confrontation, but leaves his grandsons a new legacy and a new home. A flashback takes us to 1944, where a group of rabbis known as the Judah Initiative fought Nazi necromancers from the Thule Society, using a clay golem as their secret weapon. Back in the present, using their grandfather's key, Sam and Dean discover the Men of Letters bunker, basically a bat cave for hunters. The first case they take on using their new resources is the murder of a rabbi, leading them to his grandson Aaron. Together, they reactivate the original golem to fight the modern-day version of the Thule Society, who are still hunting for the rabbi's secrets. While the golem and Dean handle the heavy lifting, Sam finds his true calling. He dives headfirst into the Men of Letters archives, embracing his role as the researcher and the brains of the operation at the new Winchester family headquarters. Kevin, the prophet, finally deciphers the first trial to close the gates of hell. One must kill a hellhound and bathe in its blood, a task that is anything but easy or clean. Following a lead, Sam and Dean infiltrate a family farm that struck it rich overnight. Suspecting they made a deal with a demon and their time is up, they discover the real debtor wasn't who they thought, but the couple's daughter, Ellie, who made the deal years ago to cure her mother of a terminal illness. When the invisible hellhound arrives to collect her soul, Dean tries to kill it but fails. In the nick of time, it's Sam who manages to land the fatal blow on the creature. The hellhound's blood splatters all over him, sealing his fate. Now, the mission is personal. Sam is officially locked into the trials, and there's no turning back. After finding the demon tablet, the brothers begin hunting for the angel tablet. A series of gruesome deaths indicates that Castiel, under Heaven's mind control, is also searching for the artifact. To find it, they need a guide who knows the location of Lucifer's crypts, and that guide is an old enemy, the demon Meg, who is being tortured by Crowley. They rescue her, and in return, she leads them to the tablet's hiding place. In the final battle against Crowley, Meg, knowing she has no chance of survival, makes a heroic sacrifice to buy Dean and Castiel time. They get the tablet, but the victory is short-lived. A direct order from heaven reaches Castiel's mind: kill Dean Winchester. In his greatest act of rebellion yet, Cass breaks the mind control, grabs the tablet, and disappears, determined to hide it from angels, demons, and even the Winchesters themselves.
And from you. From me? What are you talking about?
Dean, where's Cass? He's going.
The brothers reunite with Chrissy, the teenage hunter, now part of a junior Avengers team. She, Aiden, and Josephine, all young orphans, are being trained by an older hunter named Victor, who acts as a Professor X figure for them. He teaches them to hunt the vampires who supposedly killed their families. But Dean, who has a nose for a setup, realizes Victor's story doesn't add up. The truth is dark. Victor is manipulating the kids. He hired a vampire to stage fake attacks, deliberately traumatizing the children to mold them into perfect hunters under his command. When exposed, a cornered Victor takes his own life. The kids deal with the accomplice vampire and decide to continue hunting, but now on their own terms, to protect their community. Dean leaves more convinced than ever that closing the gates of hell is the only way to prevent more kids from sharing this fate. The second trial to close the gates of hell is revealed: rescue an innocent soul from hell and ensure it ascends to heaven. And the soul in question is none other than Bobby Singers. Sam uses a portal to descend into hell and retrieve his mentor's soul. The escape, however, goes wrong, and they both end up in purgatory. Just when all seems lost, a familiar figure emerges from the shadows, Benny, Dean's vampire friend. In a final act of loyalty, Benny sacrifices himself, allowing his spirit to be destroyed to open a portal back to Earth for Sam and Bobby. The ritual is completed, and Bobby's soul finally ascends to heaven, finding peace. But as the brothers share a rare moment of victory, Crowley retaliates. He kidnaps Kevin and steals all the notes on the tablet, leaving the Winchesters completely in the dark about the third and final trial.
Kevin! He's gone. He took all his stuff, his notes.
Charlie Bradbury, everyone's favorite hacker, calls the brothers with a bizarre case. People are being found with their internal organs completely liquefied. The investigation points to the local coroner, but he's actually a different type of djinn who feeds on fear. He kidnaps Charlie, trapping her in a looping nightmare. Dean, who already has experience as a dream warrior, enters her mind to rescue her. Inside, he helps her confront her greatest fear and trauma, the guilt she feels over her mother's condition, who is in a vegetative state in a hospital. While Dean handles the psychological side, Sam discovers there was a second djinn, the first one's brother, who was the real killer. He eliminates the creature, and Charlie finally wakes up. Physically wounded but emotionally stronger, she faces her past and is able to say goodbye to her mother. Even as Crowley's prisoner, Kevin manages to send a coded message to the Winchesters. The clues lead them to a figure they thought was only a myth, Metatron, the angel scribe, God's personal secretary who has been hiding on Earth for millennia. Metatron makes a grand entrance, rescues Kevin, and reveals the third and final trial to the brothers, cure a demon. At the same time, he approaches Castiel with another proposal, help him complete the heavenly trials to close the gates of heaven and end the angelic civil war. Castiel accepts but becomes a target for the archangels. Fleeing from his own kind, he ends up wounded and falls back into the Winchesters' care. With the revelation of the final trial and the arrival of Metatron, the celestial and infernal chess pieces finally align for the endgame. Crowley, more infuriated than ever, issues the cruelest blackmail of the series. If the Winchesters don't give up on the trials to close hell, he will kill, one by one, every person they've ever saved over the years. He starts with a woman they rescued in one of their first cases. Despite the weight of these lives on the line, Dean refuses to back down. Meanwhile, Metatron begins guiding Castiel through his own heavenly trials. The first task is to kill a Nephilim, the offspring of an angel and a human. Castiel hesitates, as the girl is, in theory, innocent, but when she attacks him, he is forced to kill her in self-defense, completing the first trial. The countdown tightens on both fronts. The brothers desperately need to find a way to cure a demon, while innocent lives are being snuffed out and heaven undergoes a secret, dangerous reconfiguration. While Sam prepares everything to cure Crowley, Castiel and Dean go in search of one of the ingredients for Metatron's heavenly trials. In hell, Abaddon attempts a coup but is repelled. During the ritual, something bizarre happens. The cure starts to work. Crowley begins to confess his sins and show signs of humanity. But before Sam can complete the trial, the angel Maomi appears and reveals the shocking truth. Metatron lied. The heavenly trials don't close heaven, they expel all angels to Earth. And worse, completing the third infernal trial will kill the human prophet performing it, meaning Sam. Dean rushes to stop his brother at the last second. Metatron kills Naomi, steals Castiel's grace, making him human, and completes his spell. The final scene is apocalyptic. A mortal cast looks up at the sky as thousands of angels fall like flaming shooting stars, banished from paradise. The world will never be the same. Sam Winchester is on his deathbed, having a chat with death herself. In a deep coma, he debates with imaginary versions of Dean and Bobby, and finally agrees to pass on, but only if it's for good. On the outside, a desperate Dean prays to any angel who will listen, until one named Ezekiel appears, battered and broken from the fall. The angel offers a bizarre plan: possess Sam's body, and heal him from the inside, like a celestial Black Ops medic. With no other choice, Dean agrees. The angel, disguised as Dean, tricks Sam into saying yes, erases his memory, and hides inside him like a secret tenant. Meanwhile, Castiel, now just a regular guy, is being hunted by an angel who wants to steal his vessel. Left with no choice, he ends up killing her to survive. Dean is left holding this bombshell, keeping the deal a secret and hoping Sam doesn't find out the truth before he's fully healed. With Crowley locked in the bunker's dungeon, the brothers try to use him as a demonic GPS, but Abaddon is rallying her forces and sets an ambush. When all seems lost, Ezekiel takes takes the wheel of Sam's body, annihilates the henchman, and sends the villain packing. To maintain his cover, the Angel gives all the credit to Dean, who gets the hero treatment without really knowing what happened. Meanwhile, Kevin is trying to decipher the tablet to reverse Metatron's spell, but Crowley, ever the poison-tongued manipulator, dangles some bait. What if Kevin's mother is still alive? In the end, Kevin decides to stay with the Winchesters, but the seed of doubt has been planted and is growing strong, consuming him from within. An angel named Bartholomew is on a forced recruitment drive, seeking human vessels, and while he's at it, hunting Castiel, Cass, without his grace and basically homeless, meets a woman named April, but their romantic encounter turns into a horror movie. She's a Reaper hired to torture information about Metatron out of him, and she ends up killing him. Dean arrives in the nick of time, eliminates April, and thanks to the Angel hiding in Sam, Cass is brought back to life. But Ezekiel doesn't like the company and issues an ultimatum. Either Castiel leaves the bunker or the deal is off. Trapped, Dean is forced to kick his best friend out, adding yet another lie to his ever-growing list. The Winchester's bunker held an old secret, Dorothy and the Wicked Witch of Oz, trapped inside since 1935. An accident frees them both, and Charlie, our favorite geek, returns to help clean up the mess. The witch is desperate to find the key that opens the portal to Oz, and even mind controls Sam and Dean to get what she wants. She even kills Charlie, but the angel Ezekiel works from the shadows and resurrects her. Using notes from the original author of Oz, L. Frank Baum, Charlie figures out how to defeat the villain. She manages to kill the witch and save the Winchester brothers. With the coast clear, Dorothy decides to return to Oz and invites Charlie to come with her. And of course, Charlie, ever ready for an adventure, accepts immediately. In Idaho, people start spontaneously combusting. The culprit is a Ritzin, a type of angelic paramedic who eases people's pain by killing them. Meanwhile, a now human Castiel gets a job at a gas station, trying to live a normal life, but he ends up being hunted by Ephraim, another angel who senses his anguish and wants to free him from his pain with death. With Dane's help, Cass manages to defeat the killer angel. In the bunker, Kevin makes a dangerous deal with Crowley, information about his mother in exchange for translating the angel tablet. The news is devastating. Metatron's spell is irreversible. To make matters worse, Sam catches Crowley injecting himself with Prophet's blood, adding another worry to the list. Sheriff Mills calls for help with a series of disappearances linked to a chastity group. Dean goes undercover and runs into Susie, a former adult film actress trying to start a new life. The investigation leads to Vesta, a Roman goddess who feeds on the life force of virgins and kidnaps anyone who breaks their vow of chastity. Mills saves the day and kills the goddess, rescuing everyone. Before she dies, Vesta taunts Sam, saying he can barely stand on his own 2 feet. Guilt hits Dean hard, and he almost tells the whole truth about the angel, but Ezekiel intervenes from inside Sam and stops him, keeping the secret safe a little longer. The angelic civil war erupts, pitting Bartholomew against an angel named Malachi. Castiel is captured, watches an angel friend die, but talks his way into tricking a guard and stealing his grace, regaining his powers. With his angelic Wi-Fi back online, he learns the truth and calls Dean with terrible news. The real Ezekiel is dead. The angel inside Sam is actually Gadriel, the guardian who failed to protect the Garden of Eden. Following Metatron's orders, Gadriel kills Kevin, steals both the demon and angel tablets, and abandons Sam's body. Dean is left completely devastated, with his brother's body collapsing, the prophet dead, and the secret exposed in the worst way possible.
No! Alter residual.
Kevin?
Gadriel continues his mission, crossing names off Metatron's hit list. To expel the angel from Sam's body, the brothers make a deal with the devil, literally. They ask Crowley for help. The King of Hell possesses Sam, encourages him to fight back and regain control of his own body, and together they manage to expel Gadriel. Meanwhile, Abaddon resurfaces, but Crowley decides that open warfare is a thing of the past. He launches a demonic marketing campaign to win the hearts and minds of Hell. Healed by Castiel, Sam distances himself from Dean. Trust has been broken in a way that may be irreparable, and each brother decides to go his own way. Crowley is obsessed with finding the first blade, the only weapon that can kill a Knight of Hell like Abaddon, and he leads Dean to Cain, the first murderer in history. After testing their metal, Cain reveals the secret. The blade only works with the power of the mark he bears on his arm. He offers to pass the mark to Dean, who accepts, despite the warning that the power comes with terrible consequences. Sam, on the other hand, nearly sacrifices himself to track Gadriel, but Castiel stops him and finishes healing him. Garth, the bumbling hunter, reappears, but he's not the same. He's now a werewolf, married, and living with a peaceful pack. The problem is that a radical werewolf faction, who worship the wolf god Fenris, wants to start a war with humans. Sam is kidnapped by them, and Dean, driven by the rage of the Mark of Cain, dismantles the cult and saves his brother. Garth decides to stay with his new werewolf family. Sam agrees to hunt with Dean again, but makes one thing crystal clear: their work partnership is back on, but the trust between them is gone. The brothers' relationship remains on ice. The ghost of Kevin appears, and the news isn't good because heaven is closed due to Metatron's spell. He and other souls are trapped in the Veil, a kind of limbo. Kevin reveals that his mother Linda is still alive and being held by demons. The brothers rescue her from a trap, and mother and son are finally reunited. Even as a ghost, she takes him home. Before leaving, Kevin begs Sam and Dean to make peace, but the truce doesn't happen. Meanwhile, Castiel is captured by Bartholomew, who wants to force him to join his violent faction. Cass refuses. A fight breaks out, and he ends up killing Bartholomew, unintentionally inheriting an army of angels with nowhere to go. Addicted to human blood, Crowley is betrayed by his own demons, and ends up asking the Winchesters for help. The first blade, which he had hidden, has ended up in the collector Magnus's vault. Dean is captured by Magnus, who wants to add him to his collection of supernatural objects. As soon as he's freed, Dean touches the first blade, feels the full power of the Mark of Cain, and kills Magnus without a second thought. Sam notices the change in his brother's eyes, who seems increasingly addicted to violence. Crowley takes the blade back, placing it in custody, and promising to return it only when Abaddon shows up, maintaining his control over the game. While Dean spends his time drinking, trying to cope with the Mark's influence, Sam investigates a series of violent outbreaks linked to ancient demonic possessions. He finds Julia, a former nun, who reveals a secret from the past. Abaddon possessed Henry Winchester's partner to infiltrate the Men of Letters organization. In the present, demons are stealing souls to create an army for Abaddon. Sam solves the local case, but understands that her plan is much bigger than he imagined. The hunt for Abaddon, the Queen of Hell, becomes their #1 priority. Metatron continues writing his own story, trying to paint Castiel as the great villain of the Celestial War, and pushing him into the position of leader. An angel who appears to be Gabriel shows up, but it's all a trick by Metatron. Sam and Dean manage to capture Gadriel, and the Mark of Cain nearly makes Dean kill him in cold blood. Metatron appears, rescues Gadriel, displays an absurd amount of power, and vanishes, making it clear who's in charge. With no other choice, Castiel accepts his role and takes command of the angel army, falling right into the trap Metatron wrote for him. Sheriff Mills rescues a young woman named Alex, who was kidnapped and raised by a family of vampires to serve as human bait. The vampire family wants her back. Sam, Dean, and Mills raid the mess to take them out, but end up captured. Alex, who has been turned into a vampire but hasn't fed yet, decides to help Mills and kills the Mest's leader. They manage to cure Alex of the transformation. Mills, having already lost her own family, decides to take the girl in. During the fight, Dean displays a brutality and a pleasure in killing that leaves Sam seriously concerned about the effect of the Mark of Cain. An infiltrator in Castiel's army reveals that Metatron has a secret portal to heaven and is assembling his own elite guard. Cass tries to recruit Gadriel to be a double agent. Meanwhile, Abaddon travels back in time, kidnaps Crowley's son Gavin, and uses him as bait. Crowley alerts Dean, who sets off to face Abaddon alone. With the Mark of Cain and the first blade, Dean becomes immune to her powers and executes her in a brutal fashion. To avoid a time paradox, Crowley saves his son from dying in the past, but Sam is horrified by how much Dean seemed to enjoy the kill. Metatron continues his marketing campaign, orchestrating attacks in Castiel's name to demoralize his army. He offers amnesty to the angels and steals nearly all of Cass's followers. Tessa, the Reaper, kills herself on the first blade, making Dean look like the culprit. It's discovered that Metatron was manipulating suicidal angels to act as suicide bombers. Gadriel appears, offering help, but but Dean, completely intoxicated by the blade's power, nearly kills him. Sam and Cass have to hold him back. Metatron's trap works perfectly. Castiel is left alone, and Dean, increasingly dominated by the mark, completely loses control. Castiel and Gadriel ascend to heaven to destroy the Angel Tablet, the source of Metatron's divine power, while Sam hunts him on Earth. Dean escapes with Crowley's help to face Metatron alone, but the scribe is too powerful and fatally stabs him. In heaven, Gadriel sacrifices himself to free Cass, who manages to shatter the tablet. The spell breaks, and Metatron becomes a regular angel again. Cass exposes Metatron's lies to all the angels, and he is taken to the Celestial Prison. On Earth, Dean dies in Sam's arms, but it's not the end. Later, Crowley appears beside Dean's body, explains that the Mark of Cain won't let him truly die, and places the first blade in his hand. In the end, Dean's eyes snap open. He's now a demon. Six weeks have passed, and Dean has fully embraced the demon life. Nights in karaoke bars singing terribly, picking fights for fun, and with Crowley as his official partner in chaotic hangouts. Meanwhile, Sam, unaware of the transformation, is in full detective mode, hunting for any clue to his brother's whereabouts. He stumbles upon a killer linked to Abaddon, and it's Crowley himself who drops the bombshell. The henchmen Dean has been using as punching bags are the remnants of Abaddon's army, all to feed his bloodlust. Sam finally tracks his brother down, but the reunion is short-lived. He's captured by a mysterious man with a single plan: use Sam as bait to lure Dean. On the other side of the story, Castiel is fading, his grace draining like a cell phone battery at 1%. He agrees to help Hannah bring rebel angels back in line, but is forced to kill one of them and realizes there are no queen victories in this war. The kidnapper calls Demon Dean, offers the trade, and gets a laugh in his face. Dean simply hangs up, leaving Sam high and dry and proving that the man we once knew is gone. The kidnapper finally reveals his face. It's Cole, the boy who watched Dean kill his father years ago and has spent his life training for revenge. He tortures Sam for answers, but the Winchester, no stranger to this game, manages to escape and throws the truth in Cole's face. His revenge target has become a demon. Meanwhile, the partnership between Crowley and Dean sours completely. The new demon ignores orders and humiliates the King of Hell in front of everyone. His pride wounded, Crowley picks a side and gives Dean's location to Sam. Cole finally gets the fight he's been dreaming of, only to get a lesson in how to get his ass kicked and be thoroughly humiliated. Dean doesn't even break a sweat. Sam uses the opening to trap his brother in a devil's trap and offers the cure he clearly doesn't want. In heaven, or close enough, Hannah tries to negotiate with Metatron for Castiel's life, but Cass himself would rather die than owe that charlatan a favor. Castiel is about to fade out for good when Adina, a rebel angel, shows up in the middle of a gas station to finish the job. But, in a soap opera-worthy twist, Crowley appears out of nowhere, takes out the angel, and, as casually as borrowing a charger, steals her grace and gives it to Castiel. The angel is back to full power, literally. In the bunker, Sam begins the curing ritual on Dean, who returns every drop of holy blood with sharp words, trying to break his brother psychologically. The torture of the cure makes him human enough to escape his bonds and begin a horror movie chase through the halls, with the roles reversed. Now it's Dean hunting Sam. Castiel arrives in the nick of time, restrains the monster, and the ritual is finally completed. Dean is back to normal, but the Mark of Cain is still there, like a cursed tattoo.
Welcome back, Dean.
Far away, in a small Oklahoma town, a mysterious red-haired woman sets up her chessboard, preparing for the next game, trying to get back to some semblance of normal, which they barely remember what that is at this point. The brothers investigate werewolf attacks. The case leads them to Kate, the girl they spared a while back, but the deaths aren't her fault. The trail leads to Tasha, Kate's sister, who was turned in a hurry to save her life, and ended up liking the predator lifestyle a little too much. Tasha has started her own pack and captures Sam and Dean, offering her sister a final test: kill the hunters to prove her loyalty. But Kate chooses another path. In an act of mercy and desperation, she kills her own sister, ending the illusion that they could ever go back to who they were. In the end, Dean admits he's still not okay, and the urge to hunt is almost uncontrollable, but he has to keep trying to fix the damage he did as a demon. A red-haired woman named Rowena enters the scene, turning a demonic brothel upside down and killing its manager, all while recruiting followers for her own coven. Sam and Dean follow the magical trail and run into Crowley's demons, but the witch manages to escape by a hair. On the same road, Cole returns for his rematch with Dean and, unsurprisingly, gets beaten again. This time, Dean tells him the truth about his father. He was a monster who ate livers. Cole's vengeance loses all meaning, and he goes home. On another corner of the board, Hannah decides to ascend to heaven and return the life of the woman who served as her vessel, and the big reveal of the night. When Crowley finally captures Rowena, he discovers the most personal betrayal he could imagine. She's his mother. Mills is at a sheriff's retreat when she meets Donna Hanscom. Their time off comes to an end when they stumble upon a trail of devoured bodies that leads them straight to a vampire nest. It turns out the old leader, Len, had reformed and was trying to protect humans, but the new leader, Star, killed him to go back to their usual menu. Sam and Dean arrive to help but fall into a trap. It's Donna, the rookie in the supernatural world, who awakens her inner hunter, saves Mills, and helps Dean clear out the nest. By the end of the night, Dean admits to Sam that he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: self-control. For the first time in months, he was the one guiding the blade, not the mark. Maybe there's still hope at the end of the tunnel. Castiel decides to look for Claire Novak, the daughter of Jimmy, the man who serves as his vessel, but the girl he finds is a well of resentment, running from foster homes and collecting bad choices. When he tries to help, Cass ends up having to call Sam and Dean. Claire is trying to get money to clear a debt for an older guy named Randy, but the plan goes wrong, and she ends up being sold by him to a criminal. The rescue happens, but Dean, with the mark of Cain pulling the trigger from within, turns the place into a massacre. Claire sees the monster behind the hero and flees. Castiel understands that some wounds can't be healed with good intentions alone. Meanwhile, in Hell, Rowena plants seeds of distrust between Crowley and the Winchesters, manipulating her son like a puppet. In search of a cure for the mark, Sam and Cass spring Metatron from heaven for an interrogation. He agrees to cooperate, but only in exchange for games and riddles. The first clue to the cure requires the first blade, which is with Crowley. The session is interrupted by Dean, who loses his patience and nearly kills Metatron, showing everyone how much the mark has already taken over. Cass takes the prisoner back before the worst can happen, and Metatron leaves one last clue hanging in the air: the river ends at the source. Spying on everything, Rowena uses the situation to further poison Crowley's trust in the brothers. Elsewhere, Claire is manipulated by some friends into trying to kill Dean, but when the moment comes, she can't do it. He spares the kids, and in a flash of self-control, leaves before the murderous impulse wins the battle. Online videos show Charlie beating up a district attorney, which makes no sense at all. The bizarre truth soon comes out. During the war in Oz, our hacker friend split herself in two, a good version and a dark version. And worse, if one dies, the other dies too. To fix it, they need the key to Oz, which was broken. The investigation leads them to a former man of letters, who reveals that the Wizard of Oz was, in fact, his own dark side. While Sam and good Charlie deal with the surreal magic of Oz, Dean faces Dark Charlie in a brutal fight and nearly goes too far, showing just how dangerous he has become with the mark. To resolve the situation, good Charlie has to make a sacrifice and kill the Man of Letters, which destroys the wizard. The two halves merge back together. With no way to return to Oz, Charlie decides to stay and help save Dean, even after seeing the monster he almost became. A strange flash of light kidnaps several people, and Dean suddenly wakes up as a teenager, trapped in a cell next to another victim, Tina, who has also been de-aged. It's the supernatural version of 13 going on 30. Sam starts investigating and discovers the culprit is a henchman for a witch from the Grand Coven. The twist? The henchman is Hansel, from the story of Hansel and Gretel, but a much more sinister version. The mini-Dean manages to escape, finds Sam, and returns to the witch's house, where he discovers something incredible. The spell that de-aged him also erased the mark of Cain. Using the spell bag, he reverses the magic on himself, becomes an adult again, kills Hansel, and, following the fairy tale recipe, shoves the witch into her own oven. The mention of the Grand Coven raises a red flag in Rowena's direction. Cain, the first murderer, is back with an insane plan to eliminate all of his descendants from the face of the earth. A mass grave with dozens of bodies marks his trail, and the next victim on his list is a 12-year-old boy. To stop him, Dean needs the first blade, and to get the blade, he has to trick Crowley. The showdown between Dean and Cain is like looking into a future mirror. Kane warns that there is no cure for the mark, only a destiny of blood and death. Dean almost gives in to the fear of becoming that, but finds an opening to win. He asks Kane if the killing will stop if he wins, and Kane says no. With that answer, Dean executes him. He fulfills half of the deal and gives the blade to Castiel, not Crowley. The King of Hell realizes he's been used, and Sam, far away, admits to Cass just how fast his brother is sinking. Two of Cole's friends return from Iraq carrying an unwanted passenger, a parasite, a type of con worm that feeds on water and leaves its hosts extremely dehydrated and violent. One of them snaps, kills someone, and then kills himself. The other, Kit, disappears. Cole joins the Winchesters on the hunt but ends up getting infected himself. Electric shocks don't work to expel the creature, so Dean tries a slower, more painful approach, dehydrating Cole to the brink of death to force the worm out. The plan works. The worm emerges, and Dean crushes it. Unfortunately, Sam finds Kit too late. The case is solved, but every time Dean pulls the trigger, he sinks a little deeper. Cole goes home, understanding a little better the burden that hunters carry. 3 deaths mysteriously linked to a church's confessional lead the brothers to suspect a vengeful ghost. In an attempt to draw out the spirit, Dean goes to confession and ends up revealing his deepest secret, the fear of what the Mark of Cain is whispering to him. The solution to the mystery lies in the Journal of Isabella, a 16th century nun who murdered her lover and was buried with a dark secret. It turns out she created a painting with her own blood and a piece of her finger, which is what tethers her spirit to the place. While Dean tries to destroy the journal, Sam uncovers the truth, burns the painting, and sets everyone free. Meanwhile, in Hell, Rowena turns the leader of the Grand Coven into a hamster to force a confession out of her. The Men of Letters hoarded what was left of the witch's magic, and the last heirs to that power are the Winchester brothers. Dean's nightmares are getting worse, and Sam decides to go behind his brother's back. With help from Cass and a psychic, he contacts Bobby in heaven and asks his old friend to open the gates so they can pull Metatron out for an interrogation. Bobby succeeds, but the price is his own celestial freedom. Back on Earth, Cass strips Metatron of his grace and forces him to talk, but the angel lies. He doesn't know how to cure the mark. He does, however, give a clue about where Castiel's lost grace might be. In parallel, Rowena tries to set a magical trap for Dean, but gets a rude awakening when she discovers the mark protects him from spells. After a no-holds-barred argument, Crowley finally banishes his mother from Hell. At the bunker, Sam and Dean reunite and lie to each other about what they've been up to. A note from Bobby, sent from the great beyond, gives Sam a clear message. Stop lying to your brother. Charlie is back, and she's brought the Book of the Damned with her, an ancient tome that pulses with dark energy and seems to be calling out to Dean. The Stein family, the book's original guardians, shows up to reclaim it, leaving a trail of blood in their hunt for the hacker. In the Men of Letters archives, Dean discovers the macabre history of the Steins, a lineage that uses the book to commit all sorts of atrocities, and orders Sam to burn it immediately. Sam pretends to obey but saves the original. He's willing to pay any price to save his brother, even if it means asking for help from the most unlikely person, Rowena. Meanwhile, Castiel goes on a road trip with Metatron, who, being the scoundrel he is, steals the demon tablet and escapes. The good news is that amid the chaos, Cass finally finds his lost grace and gets his full powers back. The bad news is that another secret is born between the brothers. Translating the Book of the Damned depends on a codex locked inside a deadly trap, the Werther box. This box was created by the Men of Letters to protect their treasures, causing any intruder to be overwhelmed by hallucinations and end up taking their own life. Sam finds the box, but in trying to open it, he ends up trapping himself, Dean, and another woman in a wave of visions. The woman can't resist and kills herself. Sam, guided by a hallucination of Rowena, begins to cut himself to feed the box his blood. Meanwhile, Dean is trapped in a false purgatory alongside his vampire friend Benny, but he sees through the ruse because the Mark of Cain would never leave him in peace. He breaks the illusion, stops Sam from killing himself, and spills his own blood on the box, breaking the spell. With the codex in hand, Sam returns to the real Rowena and chains her up, forcing her to use the book for one purpose and one purpose only, removing the mark from Dean. Claire is searching for her missing mother when she gets a beating that puts her back on Castiel's radar. Sam and Dean join the case. The trail leads them to a supposed faith healer who is actually Tamiel, a Grigori, a type of ancient angel that has been hiding on Earth and feeding on human souls. souls. Castiel finds Claire's mother Amelia trapped in a dream with her deceased husband Jimmy. He wakes her, but she's too weak. At the Fallen Angels farm, Sam is captured, and the cavalry arrives with Dean and Claire. Tamiel is incredibly powerful, and in the ensuing fight, Amelia sacrifices herself to save her daughter's life. Fueled by grief and adrenaline, Claire grabs the Angel Blade and plunges it into Tamiel's chest, getting her revenge. In the end, she agrees to go live with Mills, taking the first step toward possibly becoming a hunter. The Stein family wants the Book of the Damned back and sends one of its members, Eldon, to retrieve it. Eldon is captured by Dean, but manages to escape in an extreme way, showing just how detached they are from their own bodies. During the interrogation, he reveals the family's history. They are descendants of Dr. Frankenstein and have been using magic and surgery to manipulate history for centuries. Dean discovers the book is indestructible and confronts Sam about his lie. While the brothers have the biggest fight of the season, Charlie, in a motel room, manages to crack the code to cure the mark, but Eldon finds her first. She manages to email her notes to Sam seconds before she's murdered. In the bunker, the only sound is silence, followed by a wave of pure rage that consumes Dean. Charlie's funeral is the trigger the Mark of Cain needed to push Dean over the edge. His fury is absolute. Sam sees Rowena's translation as their last chance, but the witch demands a steep price, Crowley's head. Meanwhile, Dean storms the Stein mansion like a one-man army. He gets captured but turns the tables and turns the house into a graveyard. Sam, for his part, tries to set a trap for the King of Hell, but learns that underestimating Crowley is always a rookie mistake. Dean returns to the bunker to find 2 more Stein family members waiting for him. He kills them without hesitation, including a boy who just wanted to escape his family's legacy. Castiel tries to stop him but gets the worst beating of his life. The only reason Dean doesn't kill the angel is that in some dark corner of his soul, the real Dean manages to stay his hand at the last second. Completely lost between guilt and his killer instinct, Dean does the unthinkable. He summons death himself. He's ready to be wiped from existence, as long as it means he won't hurt anyone else. Death explains the true cost of the mark. It is the lock that holds back the darkness, a primordial force that existed before God and light itself. Removing it would unleash this entity upon the universe. But there's a deal. Death can transport him to an isolated place where he won't be a threat. On one condition, he has to kill Sam, the one person who always pulls him back. The brothers face each other, exchange unspoken words, and prepare for the end. At the last moment, with the scythe raised, Dean chooses family, not fate. He turns and kills death. At that exact instant, Rowena completes the spell and the Mark of Cain vanishes from Dean's arm. The sky goes dark. Black lightning tears through the ground. The darkness is free and advances like a storm of black smoke, heading straight for the Impala. Right after unleashing the darkness, the world descends into chaos. Sam and Dean find themselves in a town straight out of The Walking Dead, rescuing a deputy named Jenna from a mob of infected people who act like zombies and spread the plague with a single touch. Amid the confusion, a dying man hands the Winchesters a baby girl named Amara. Dean starts having bizarre visions of a mysterious woman, the darkness in human form, and feels a strange connection to her. While Dean plays babysitter and protects Jenna and the child, Sam decides he's not going to sit back and leaves to find a cure for the infection. In the process, however, he ends up getting infected himself. Elsewhere, Castiel, still under Rowena's spell to attack anything that moves, is captured by other angels. Crowley, meanwhile, barely escapes death and realizes that both heaven and hell have sounded the general alarm. Back at Jenna's grandmother's house, things get even creepier. The baby, Amara, has the Mark of Cain on her shoulder. Dean leaves Jenna and baby Amara with the deputy's grandmother and rushes to help Sam, but the child is no ordinary baby. Amara displays telekinetic powers and, as if that weren't enough, sucks out Jenna's soul, driving her completely mad and causing her to kill her own grandmother. That's when Crowley appears, disguised as an exorcist, and recognizes the child as the ancient darkness. He dispatches Jenna and tries to claim the girl for himself. When Dean finally confronts Amara, she ages into a teenager in the blink of an eye and vanishes. Crowley finds her and offers to be her mentor, feeding her a banquet of souls. Meanwhile, Sam's search for a cure leads him to a ritual involving holy fire. The plan works. He purifies himself and saves other survivors. As for Castiel, while being tortured by angels, he goes into a full berserker mode due to Rowena's spell. He breaks free and ends up killing his captors, including the angel Hannah, in an uncontrollable fit of rage. The mission is now twofold. Find Rowena to break the spell on Castiel, and at the same time, find Metatron before the angels do. Rowena, always one to stir the pot, tells Dean that Sam promised to kill Crowley in exchange for removing the Mark of Cain. Surprisingly, Dean takes the news without freaking out. The spell on Cass worsens to the point where he becomes an unchained attack dog, and Dean has to restrain him by force. Under pressure, Rowena finally reverses the magic but manages to escape with all her tricks up her sleeve. Meanwhile, in a forgotten bar, a low-level angel and demon complain that their bosses have no idea how to deal with the darkness. In hell, Crowley tries to pamper his daughter Amara, but she devours demons like they're snacks and matures in a matter of hours, making it clear that no one will control her. We get an entire episode told from the Impala's perspective. Sam has a dream of a young John Winchester, who basically tells him to get on with it and act against the darkness. On the road, the brothers face a Noxzera, a bizarre creature, part ghoul, part vampire, that's immune to silver and simple decapitation. The pack leader kidnaps Dean and plans to turn Sam, but he clearly underestimates the Winchester's creativity. Dean shoves a handful of copper coins into the monster's mouth and finishes it off with the Impala's door, breaking the curse that had afflicted the others. Over the phone, Castiel confirms the creature's nature. In the end, Sam sees the dream as a sign from God, but Dean remains skeptical, and the Impala, all banged up, gets back on the road. Sam and Dean end up at a Lizzie Borden-themed B&B, where a series of murders reveals a trail of soulless people. There, Dean meets Len, a guy obsessed with Lizzie's story who crossed paths with Amara and had his soul drained. The town's babysitter, Sydney, was also emptied, and, in a strange trance of blissful coldness, begins killing people who mistreated her in the past, planning to serve the Winchesters up to the darkness on a silver platter. Len prevents another tragedy by killing Sydney and, fearing he'll become a monster, turns himself in to the police, taking the blame for all the crimes. From a distance, Amara watches everything and promises Dean they will be reunited soon. Amara continues her diet of souls and keeps growing. Crowley desperately tries to keep her in line and clean up the messes she leaves behind. The trail of bodies leads the brothers to an abandoned asylum where the King of Hell and the darkness are hiding. Dean confronts Crowley, but Amara stops him effortlessly, claiming he's incapable of hurting her because they are bound. Castiel, meanwhile, finds Metatron living as a tragedy-chasing paparazzo. After squeezing the former scribe of God, he gets the cosmic truth. Amara is God's sister, imprisoned by him when the universe was created. Dean hides the intensity of his encounter from Sam, while Sam finally understands the meaning of his visions. They're about Lucifer's cage. Our favorite sheriff, Donna Hanscom, calls the Winchesters to investigate a bizarre case of possessed costumes. First, a killer in a rabbit head that won't come off. Then, one in a jester outfit. It turns out it's not a cursed object, but a ghost. The victim? Chester, a children's party entertainer who was falsely accused and murdered by a group of vigilante parents. The spirit is using the costumes to get revenge, until Dean manages to free a possessed boy, and Sam burns the final piece of the puzzle. Sam, still shaken by his visions of the cage, finally prays and admits to himself that he might have to face his greatest trauma head-on. A little girl's imaginary friend is murdered, and suddenly, Sully, Sam's old childhood friend, reappears. He's a Xena, a type of being that helps lonely children, and he and his kind are being hunted. The killer is Reese, a young woman who blames Sully for the accidental death of her twin sister years ago. Between clues and old apologies, the episode becomes something of a therapy session. Sully accepts the blame, but Sam and Dean arrive in time to prevent her from getting revenge, and Reese stands down. It's then that Sam confesses to Sully his paralyzing fear of returning to the cage. Sully, in turn, calls him a hero, saying that's what being a hero is, acting in spite of fear. Amara decides to provoke God in grand style by slaughtering a group of preachers. Afterwards, she pulls Dean into a private chat, where she makes her plan clear: overthrow her brother and create a new world under her reign of bliss. Dean's angel blade doesn't even scratch her. To make matters worse, the kiss she gives him only confirms the deep, bizarre connection between them. Meanwhile, Sam, still believing his vision visions are from God, convinces Crowley and Rowena to help him with a spell to speak safely with Lucifer in the cage. The spell works, but then comes the twist. The visions were never from God. They were from Lucifer, who took advantage of cracks in the cage, caused by the darkness, to manipulate Sam. The magical wards fail, and Sam is dragged into the cage. With the reluctant help of Billy the Reaper, Dean enters hell to rescue Sam, carrying a witch catcher to control Rowena. Inside, Lucifer mocks the brothers and offers a deal. He'll help them defeat Amara if Sam agrees to be his vessel again. The offer is immediately refused. Just as Rowena's spell seems to be expelling the Archangel, the biggest twist of all arrives. Castiel says yes. Lucifer possesses the angel's body, kills Rowena to ensure no one can reopen the cage, and declares that the war against the darkness will now begin, with him in charge and walking freely on Earth. Crowley flees, and the Winchester brothers vow to get their friend back. A banshee attack at a nursing home reunites the Winchesters with Aileen, a deaf hunter who was marked by the creature's shriek as a child. As it turns out, she's also a legacy of the Men of Letters. Castiel, who is now Lucifer in disguise, pretends to help, but is actually just studying Dean's strange bond with Amara. The banshee, which is drawn to vulnerability, targets Dean. At the last second, Mildred, a woman from the home, and Aileen turn the tables and kill the creature. Aileen continues on her own path as a hunter, and Sam finally gets a peaceful night's sleep. But Dean remains haunted by and drawn to the darkness. A love spell goes horribly wrong and turns into a deadly curse. A witch named Sonia summons a Kareen, a creature that takes the form of its victim's greatest desire to kill them. A cheating husband and his mistress die, and the curse begins to jump from person to person through kisses. To save the jilted wife, Dean takes the curse upon himself and must face his temptation personified, Amara. While Sonia captures Sam, Dean manages to resist the illusion. Melissa, the wife, distracts the witch, and Sam destroys the Kareen's heart, breaking the spell. In the end, Dean admits he desires Amara and fears he won't be able to kill her. Sam promises that if the time comes, he'll be the steady hand to do the job. A hand of God, a powerful artifact, was lost on a submarine in 1943 and may be the only thing capable of harming Amara. Castiel, still possessed by Lucifer, sends Dean back in time to retrieve the object. There, he joins forces with a spy named Delphine, who is surrounded by Nazis from the Thule Society. In the present, Lucifer reveals his true identity to Sam and tries to use him as a power source. Castiel manages to regain control of his body for a moment to save Sam. In the past, with no way out, Delphine activates the Hand of God, sacrificing herself and sinking the submarine with everyone on board. Back in the present, Lucifer tries to use the artifact, but its power is already spent. Sam seizes the opportunity and banishes him with a blood sigil. Dean refuses to believe that Castiel chose this possession of his own free will. Crowley reappears, offering the Horn of Joshua and a plan to trap Lucifer again. Dean just wants Castiel back, but Sam thinks they need to use the Archangel against Amara first. In heaven, Lucifer terrorizes the other angels. On Earth, Rowena, who survived, helps set a trap for him, but at the critical moment, Castiel refuses to expel Lucifer, insisting he's necessary for the war. The Archangel breaks free, and just then, Amara appears. The Horn of Joshua doesn't even put a scratch on her. She simply captures Lucifer and begins to torture him, just to provoke God into showing up. Metatron, now reduced to a wanderer, is pulled into a bar by none other than Chuck, who reveals himself to be God. Between pages of an autobiography and a scolding from Metatron about his cowardice, Chuck finally admits the truth. He is being, Amara is nothing, and locking her away required sacrifices that left him bitter. Meanwhile, Amara unleashes a deadly fog on a town. Sam is infected, but Dean, for some reason, remains immune and pleads directly with the darkness to stop. Touched by something, Chuck intervenes, clears the fog, and brings the victims back to life. At that moment, Dean's old amulet, which was in Sam's pocket, begins to glow and leads them to Chuck. It's time to talk. Still suspicious, the brothers test Chuck, who zaps them back to the bunker with a snap of his fingers, and finally sends Kevin's soul to heaven. A new fog from Amara awakens Donatello as the next prophet. Metatron warns that God's plan is to sacrifice himself so his sister will stop. The Winchesters then rush a plan B, rescue Lucifer to help in the fight. Dean goes to distract Amara, who proposes an absolute union, but senses the trap. Even so, Sam and Metatron manage to free the Archangel. Metatron sacrifices himself to buy them time and is disintegrated by Amara. Back at the bunker, God heals his prodigal son, and the two stand face to face for the first time in millennia. The reconciliation is difficult. Chuck admits he loved Lucifer most and that he hated the mark that corrupted him, not Lucifer himself. With no other archangels, the plan is to recruit everyone: angels, demons, and Rowena's witches. The strategy is to combine a series of attacks to weaken Amara enough to seal her back inside the Mark of Cain, which will be transferred to Sam this time. But Amara simply walks through the armies as if they were nothing. She confronts God, demanding to know why he created everything just to abandon it, and resists the attempt to seal her away. She mortally wounds Chuck, seemingly kills Lucifer, and vows to keep God alive only to watch him see his entire creation extinguished. With God dying, the sun begins to fade. Billy the Reaper provides enough souls to create a bomb, which is implanted inside Dean. Chuck sends him to find Amara, who, exhausted from the battle, reveals she has regrets. Instead of triggering the bomb, Dean offers her a heart-to-heart about pain, family, and forgiveness. The darkness listens and reconciles with her brother, healing him. Together, they depart, leaving the universe intact. Before she goes, Amara gives Dean a gift, one his heart desires most: Mary Winchester, alive. Meanwhile, in the bunker, an agent from the London Men of Letters, Lady Tony Bevel, banishes Castiel with a sigil and confronts Sam, blaming him for the global disorder. A gunshot rings out. Outside, Dean comes face to face with the mother who died when he was a child, now standing right in front of him. The aforementioned Tony Bevel from the British Men of Letters captures Sam and tortures him, but not before taking him to a vet to patch up the gunshot wound she gave him. It's pure humiliation. Her goal is to get a list of all American hunters. Sam takes the beating, both physically and psychologically, and even manages to see through her hallucinations, nearly escaping before being recaptured. Meanwhile, Dean comes face to face with his mother Mary, who has just returned from the dead. Along with Castiel, they soon discover that Sam has been kidnapped. One of Tony's cronies, Miss Watt, shows up to cause trouble, but Mary Winchester proves she's not back for a vacation and finishes the woman off with Cass's angel blade. The trio uses the dead woman's phone to track Tony. In parallel, Lucifer is like a ghost, jumping from vessel to vessel, burning out each one in the process, and Crowley is powerless to stop him. Now there are two hunts underway, one to save Sam and another to stop the devil. The family is back together, but peace is a long way off. Castiel, the gang's Angela GPS, tracks Sam to a farmhouse protected by warding. Mary insists on coming along. Dean tries to go full Solid Snake and sneak in, but the plan goes south, and he ends up captured as well, tortured in front of his brother. That's when Mary turns the tables. She distracts Tony, giving Dean the perfect opening to break free and knock the Brit out. Right on cue, the good cop arrives, Mick Dives. He reprimands Tony and offers a partnership between the British and American hunters. Finally, Sam and Mary have a moment to embrace, and she looks at John's journal with a sadness she'd rather not put into words. Across town, Crowley recruits his mother Rowena to hunt Lucifer, who is now using the vessel of a rock star named Vince. The plan backfires, and the devil ends up capturing the witch. The Brits' promise of help comes with a sinister condition: the mention of a certain Arthur Ketch, a name that makes even Tony tremble. In Minnesota, a baby crying in an abandoned house, a classic hunter trap, but it's much worse. The house is haunted by the ghosts of children who died there. Sam and Dean burn some bones, but the spirits remain. The problem is that the first victim's father killed himself in the house and has become a collector of children's souls. The possessive ghost takes over Mary's body and goes after Dean. Racing against the clock, Sam finds the man's remains and burns them, freeing the children and, by extension, his mother. Afterward, Mary finally admits she isn't handling this whole back from the dead thing well and decides to take some time for herself, distancing herself from her sons in the bunker. Meanwhile, Castiel and Crowley form the universe's most unlikely duo to deal with Lucifer. Rowena, with a master stroke, causes the devil's vessel to begin decaying and sends him to the bottom of the ocean. They agree. When they need her, she'll help corner the devil again. Bizarre deaths in Iowa, victims speaking in tongues and being beaten by invisible forces. The trail leads to an ultra-religious family whose daughter, Magda, supposedly died. Dean suspects a witch, but Sam finds the girl alive, locked in the basement by her own mother. It's a Carrie-like vibe. The mother mistreats Magda because of her psychic powers, and the deaths were just accidents caused by the girl's desperation. In a fit of fanaticism, the mother poisons the family to save them from evil, and the brother sacrifices himself to protect Magda. Sam convinces the girl not to seek revenge and sends her off to an aunt's house, finally free. But her freedom is short-lived. On the road, the aforementioned Arthur Ketch appears out of nowhere and executes Magda in cold blood. A cruel way to close the case and show how the Brits really operate. In a flashback to 1980, we see Mary saving a little boy named Asa Fox from a werewolf. The kid is inspired and becomes a legend among hunters until his death in 2016. His wait turns into a hunter convention, attended by Mills, who had a thing with Asa, and the Winchesters. Mary feels awkward around the sons she barely knows. Suddenly, an old demon named Jael traps everyone in the house and starts killing them off. Dean, stuck outside, makes a deal with the Reaper Billy to get back in, racking up another cosmic debt. Possessing Mills, Jael reveals the truth. Asa wasn't killed by him, but by Bucky, a friend who accidentally killed him and blamed it on the demon. Jael is exorcised, Bucky loses all respect, and Billy shows up to take Mary back where she belongs. Mary refuses, agrees to have breakfast with her sons, but still doesn't feel ready to return to the bunker. The devil has decided to aim high. After jumping from vessel to vessel, he possesses none other than the President of the United States, Jefferson Rooney. As if that weren't enough, he also impregnates a staffer, Kelly, who is now carrying a Nephilim. The Winchesters, Castiel, Crowley, and Rowena form a task force. Ketch, the British agent, gives them a device that can exorcise any entity from its vessel. Using Kelly as bait, Sam activates the device and rips Lucifer from the president. At the same moment, Rowena uses her magic and sends him back to the cage, or so they think. But their victory turns into a trap. The Secret Service storms the location and arrests Sam and Dean for the attempted assassination of the president. Kelly manages to escape and, terrified, decides to keep the baby. The world just gained a new ticking time bomb. Held in a black site facility, Sam and Dean spend weeks in isolation until suddenly they're declared dead. In reality, it's all part of a plan with the Reaper Billy. They've been resurrected, but one of the Winchesters has to die for real by midnight. Mary and Castiel finally find them. With the brothers out of commission, supernatural activity has exploded, and Cass realizes just how much the world needs them. When the time comes, Mary offers to die in her son's place, but Castiel, in a shocking move, prevents the sacrifice by stabbing Billy, ending the pact for good. While everyone processes the angel's actions, we learn that Mick has sent Ketch to clean up the prison, meaning kill everyone involved in the escape. The partnership with the Brits is exacting an ever higher price. In a heist that feels straight out of a Tarantino movie, Mary steals a mysterious artifact, but the mission goes wrong. A yellow-eyed demon mortally wounds Castiel and kills a hunter named Wally. Crowley identifies the enemy, Ramiel, a prince of hell, owner of the Lance of Michael and the item Mary stole. The lance poisons Cass and there's no cure. Ramiel shows up and demands his treasure back. Sam manages to use the lance against the prince of hell and kills him. Crowley then breaks the weapon and the poison vanishes from Castiel's body, saving the angel at the last second. In secret, Mary hands Ketch the stolen artifact, which is none other than the legendary Colt. In Hell's Palace, we see that Lucifer didn't return to the cage. He's become Crowley's pet, trapped in a magically reinforced vessel. Crowley reveals his rigged setup. He didn't send Lucifer back to the cage, he just trapped him in Nick's vessel using a web of runes. Lucifer, of course, doesn't miss the chance to taunt him, reminding him that his son is still going to be born. Meanwhile, Mary starts training with the Brits, listening to Ketch's toxic advice that hunters work better alone. Sam and Dean deal with the ghost of Fiona, Gavin MacLeod's fiancée, who haunts a location due to her tragic fate. To free her, Gavin decides to go back in time and die on the ship, as he was supposed to. Rowena sends him and confesses to Crowley that she did it purely out of revenge against him. To complete the chaos, Kelly is attacked by angels but is saved by Dagon, another princess of hell. Even while imprisoned, Lucifer senses something big has happened and cracks a sinister smile. The British men of letters decide to sanitize the US vampire population, and Mary takes Sam to see their base. Dean, ever suspicious, stays behind, and Ketch convinces him to go on a didactic hunt together. But the vampire nest strikes first, turning the British base into a bloodbath. Led by the alpha vampire himself, the buttoned-up team falls apart the second they have to get their hands dirty. Sam manages to get the Colt, and with help from Mary and Mick, puts a clean shot through the alpha's forehead. Despite the disaster, Sam is impressed by the weapon's efficiency and agrees to collaborate with the Brits, promising to try to convince Dean. He also finally forgives Mary, reaffirming that family comes first, despite complicated choices. For 2 weeks, Sam acts as a double agent, passing cases he gets from Mick on to Dean. In Nebraska, a hellhound starts attacking innocent people, clearly a bug in the system. Crowley reveals that this is Ramsey, the ancestor of all hellhounds, who only ever obeyed Lucifer. The creature attacks Sam and a survivor, Gwen, inside the Impawa. Sam manages to defeat it by the skin of his teeth and begrudgingly thanks Crowley for his help. The truth is, some demons released Ramsey just to distract the Winchesters while Lucifer tried to break free. His plan fails, as Crowley has tattooed the devil's vessel with spells from the cage, keeping him as his pet. To top it all off, Heaven offers Castiel a chance to get back in their good graces if he turns over Kelly and the Nephilim. A werewolf attack leaves a girl named Hayden injured. Mick Dives decides to join the Winchesters in the field to investigate, while Claire Novak, hiding from Mills, hunts the same monster on her own. Hayden was bitten, and following the British zero-tolerance protocol, Mick executes her during the night, leaving the brothers furious. The situation worsens when Claire is also bitten by the same werewolf. Her only hope is an experimental cure that requires the blood of the wolf that bit her. The culprit, Justin, reveals he only attacked because the Brits themselves exterminated his pack and he was lonely. Justin dies in the fight, the cure works, and Claire survives. Mick leaves the hunt completely shaken, realizing the real world doesn't operate in the black and white of his code. A flashback shows the bizarre Men of Letters graduation rite, where Mick was forced to kill his best friend. Back in the present, Dr. Hess, the head of the organization, orders him to fix the Winchesters and eliminate anyone who gets in the way. The hunt for Kelly and Dagon brings Sam, Dean, Aileen, and Mick, who now has the cult, together. During the ambush, Aileen misses her shot at Dagon and accidentally kills one of Dr. Hess's men. According to the British code, Mick should execute her on the spot, but the brothers convince him not to. That's when Ketch shows up to deliver the Brits' final lesson. He kills Mick in cold blood. Hess gives the order. It's time to exterminate all American hunters. Meanwhile, Dagon tells Callie that the birth of her son will cost her her life. A fake email from Mick leads the Winchesters to Wisconsin. It's a trap set by Ketch, who uses their absence to break into the bunker and plant bugs everywhere. The brothers investigate disappearances that have occurred annually since 1898 and discover that the local sheriff, Barrett Bishop, made his fortune through sacrifices to the god Moloch. He stopped the cult in 1997, but his half-brother Pete has revived the rituals out of sheer greed. Pete kidnaps Dean to offer him as a sacrifice, but Sam arrives just in time, kills Pete, and uses the cult to wipe Moloch from existence. Back at the bunker, the brothers share a rare moment of peace and carve their initials into the table, oblivious to the fact that Ketch is now in control, watching their every move 24/7. Guilt-ridden and afraid, Kelly tries to kill herself, but the Nephilim inside her resurrects her. This convinces her that her son is good. Castiel returns to the bunker, claiming to have a plan from heaven, while Sam proposes another: drain the baby's powers before it's born. But Cass betrays everyone's trust, steals the cult, and flees with Kelly. He has orders from heaven to take her to a gateway and die along with her and the baby. However, the Nephilim chooses Castiel as its protector and shows him a vision of the future. At the gateway, Dagon appears, destroys the cult, and kills the angel Joshua, but the baby lends its power to Castiel, who incinerates the princess of hell with a single touch. Now convinced, Cass decides the boy must be born with all his powers, and that he himself will protect him, no matter the cost. Twin hunters Alicia and Max Baines call the Winchesters for help when their mother, Tasha, goes missing on a hunt. At the hotel, they find a suspiciously calm Tasha, who is actually a perfect doll. In the basement, Sam and Dean discover heartless bodies and the villain's plan, a witch who creates living dolls from her victims' hearts to transfer her powers. The witch tries to blackmail Max with the copy of his mother, but Dean kills her. The problem is, Tasha's doll had already killed the real Alicia. Devastated, Max refuses to accept the loss, uses the witch's spellbook, and creates his own doll of Alicia. Meanwhile, Mary uncovers the truth about the British Men of Letters, finds Mick's body, and calls her sons, but is captured by Lady Tony before she can warn them. Ketch uses a hellhound to kill the hunter Aileen, while Lady Tony brainwashes Mary, forcing her to kill one of her hunter friends. Desperate, Mary tries to kill herself, but Ketch keeps her alive to use as a weapon. mission. Sam and Dean find the bugs in the bunker and manage to capture Tony, who confesses everything. She and Ketch are behind the deaths, including Mix. Ketch storms the bunker with mercenaries and a mind-controlled Mary, who frees her lover. He traps the brothers and Tony inside, leaving them to suffocate. Meanwhile, in hell, Lucifer figures out how to reverse Crowley's spell, stabs him, and escapes. On the brink of death in the bunker, the brothers must come up with a desperate last-ditch effort to survive. After 2 days trapped and running out of air, Dean has a crazy idea. Use a grenade launcher to blow a hole in the bunker wall. The plan works, and the brothers escape through the sewers. Mills manages to capture Mary, and Dean, with Tony's reluctant help, enters his mother's mind. He finds her trapped in a memory from 1983 and unloads decades of pain and resentment on her, hating and forgiving her in the same breath to break the mind control. Meanwhile, Sam rallies other hunters and leads an assault on the British Men of Letters base. They suffer losses, but in the end, they win the war. Before she dies, Dr. Hess drops a bombshell. Lucifer is free. At the compound, Ketch kills Tony, but a finally awakened Mary takes him down. Reunited, the Winchesters accept that what they have, each other, is all that matters. The Nephilim's birth is imminent, heralded by biblical signs. The Winchesters, now with a Crowley who survived Lucifer's attack, track the location. The devil in turn kills Rowena to ensure no powerful witch can get in his way. Castiel reveals that the baby's energy has opened a rift to an alternate reality where the Winchesters were never born. He takes Sam and Dean there, where they meet an alternate version of Bobby. Crowley devises one final plan: trap Lucifer on the other side of the rift, but the spell will cost him his life. He sacrifices himself, closing the passage, almost. Lucifer manages to cross back through and, in a swift, cruel blow, kills Castiel. In a desperate act, Mary shoves Lucifer back into the apocalyptic world and is dragged in with him. The rift closes. Dean collapses over Cass's body, and Sam finds Kelly dead beside a crib, from which her son emerges, already a teenager, facing his own destiny. Meet Jack, a newborn in an adult's body who ends up naked and confused at a police station, unable to comprehend his own power. The news reaches the Winchesters, and their reactions are pure yin and yang. Dean wants to eliminate the threat before it can blink. Sam, however, sees only a lost kid who needs help. While the brothers argue, angels show up to abduct the boy, but Jack is no easy target. They shove an angel blade into his heart, and the kid doesn't even flinch. It's like trying to take down Superman with a slingshot. Realizing how serious this is, the Winchesters take the Nephilim to the bunker. Inside, the debate continues. Sam takes on the role of a mentor, trying to teach Jack to be good. Dean, pragmatic as ever, gives him an ultimatum: if you go dark side, I'll be the one to kill you. To cap off the heavy mood, they hold a hunter's funeral for Kelly and Castiel. Meanwhile, in the apocalyptic world, Lucifer wastes no time. He keeps Mary Winchester alive, quickly realizing she'll be useful in his plans for domination. She's become the devil's ace in the hole. On the road with Jack, the Winchesters run into Donatello. The prophet was drawn to the Nephilim's grace, like a shark to blood, but he's not the only one with his eye on the kid. Asmodeus, the newest prince of hell, appears disguised as a friendly Donatello, trying to manipulate Jack. His plan? To release the Shedim, creatures so ancient and cursed that even Lucifer himself feared them. The villain reveals his true face and starts hurting Sam and Dean, which is when Jack loses his cool. In a surge of power, he unleashes a wave of energy that makes Asmodeus vanish. Even after seeing the kids save their skins, Dean doesn't soften and repeats his warning: if Jack crosses the line, he dies. In another reality, a confident Lucifer goes to confront that world's Michael, but this version of the Archangel is even more hardcore. The fight is quick, and the devil gets his ass handed to him, ending up as Michael's prisoner. The tables have turned in a way he never expected. The psychic Missouri Mosley calls the Winchesters for help. A wraith is hunting psychics, and her granddaughter Patience is next on the list. Dean and Mills rush to protect the girl but can't prevent the tragedy. Missouri dies, just as she had foreseen. Her grandmother's death awakens Patience's own powers. The girl has a vision that saves Mills and her father from the monster, which is ultimately destroyed. Meanwhile, in the bunker, Sam tries to train Jack, but the boy can only use his powers when he's scared or angry. This leads him to believe he is an evil creature. In the midst of this existential crisis, Jack senses Dean's grief over Castiel's loss. Full of empathy, he whispers the angel's name, and on the other side of existence, in the empty, Castiel awakens. Dead people begin appearing to say goodbye to their loved ones. They aren't ghosts, but a shapeshifter named Mia, who works as a grief counselor of sorts, taking the form of the deceased. The real villain is her ex-boyfriend, who is on a killing spree. During the chaos, Jack finally proves his worth. He uses his powers to deflect a bullet meant for Sam, earning a shred of respect even from Dean. Before leaving, Mia takes the form of Kelly, Jack's mother, and tells him that even monsters can do good. Meanwhile, in the empty, Castiel is getting on the nerves of the entity that rules the place. He annoys the creature so much that it simply kicks him back to Earth. Just like that, Castiel is reborn again. A haunted asylum forces Dean to take a drastic measure. He kills himself for a few minutes just to cross the veil, talk to the ghosts, and find out where their bodies are buried. On the other side, he comes face to face with Billy, who is no longer a Reaper. She is now Death herself. She reveals that the universe doesn't want the Winchesters dead yet. They have an important role to play. With that cryptic message, Billy sends Dean back to the world of the living. The asylum case is solved, but the real victory happens on the road. Out of nowhere, standing on the shoulder of the highway, there he is, Castiel, alive. The original Team Free Will is finally back together. The guys end up in Dodge City, a modern-day Old West town where a ghoul is wearing the face of a famous gunslinger to attack its victims. Jack, eager to help and prove his worth, tries to intervene, but he loses control of his powers and accidentally kills a human security guard. The guilt hits him like a ton of bricks. Castiel tries to heal the man but can't. Seeing the boy's state, Dean decides to cover up the mistake to protect him from the law, but it's no use. Consumed by the idea that he's a dangerous monster, Jack flees the bunker, convinced he will only hurt those he loves. With Jack on the loose, the hunt is on. Asmodeus wants to turn him into a weapon, while the angels want to use him to create more angels and repopulate heaven. Out of the blue, a man introduces himself as Alexander Ketch, but he's actually Arthur Ketch, the British man of letters. Apparently, he had a resurrection spell from Rowena up his sleeve. To complicate matters further, Lucifer suddenly appears and asks Castiel for a truce, warning him about the threat of Michael, but their chat is cut short by Asmodeus, who captures them both. In the end, we learn the plot twist. Ketch has been secretly working for Asmodeus all along. Jack decides to find Mary, and to do so, needs a dreamwalker, someone who can travel through dreams and dimensions. He finds Kaya, a girl with this gift. The problem is, the angels also find him and attack. Dean pressures Kaya into helping, and she eventually gives in. The combination of Jack and Kaya's powers opens a massive, unstable portal. The energy blast destroys the angels, but everything spins out of control. Kaya is thrown to an unknown location. The Winchesters are hurled into the bad place, a world teeming with monsters. And Jack, he lands in the Apocalypse world, right next to Mary Winchester. Meanwhile, in our world, Patience has a terrible vision of the future. With the Winchesters trapped, Mills assembles a powerhouse team: Donna, Alex, Claire, and Patience. It's basically the badass, all-female version of the Ghostbusters. The plan is to rescue Sam and Dean from the bad place. Claire and Kaya cross through the portal and manage to save the brothers, but the escape comes at a high price. On their way back, Kaya dies protecting Claire from a spear, fulfilling Patience's dark vision. Back home, Sam warns that the rift may have allowed some creatures to escape into our world. Somewhere far away, a cloaked figure, identical to Kaya but clearly from another reality, emerges, alive and dangerous. Two witches use a love spell on Dean to steal the Black Grimoire from the bunker. And who shows up to save the day? Rowena, back from the dead, as always. She also wants the book, but only needs a specific page to break the magical bindings on her power and stand a chance against Lucifer. The sisters' attempt to resurrect their mother goes horribly wrong, and the Winchesters and Rowena must team up to contain the chaos. In the end, Sam, in a gesture of trust, allows Rowena to take the page she needs. Meanwhile, Castiel and Lucifer manage to escape from Asmodeus, and Cass takes advantage of the devil's weakened state to give him a beatdown, ending their forced alliance. With his power levels fading like a dying phone battery, Lucifer starts stealing grace from other angels to recharge. He meets an angel named Anna L, or Sister Joe, and the two form a business partnership. In the bunker, Donatello is translating the demon tablet, but he's secretly being hypnotized by Asmodeus. The Lucifer-Anna L duo sells fake miracles and promises to repopulate heaven, allowing the devil to seize the celestial throne. Out of nowhere, Ketch offers the Winchesters an alliance against Lucifer and Michael. That's when Asmodeus reveals his ace in the hole. Not only does he have the Archangel Blade, but also Gabriel, alive and being used as his personal grace battery. Soulless, Donatello is completely corrupted by the tablet's power and tries to sabotage the brothers. The only way out Castiel can find is to forcibly extract the information from his mind, which leaves the prophet in a vegetative state. But at least they get the recipe to open the portal: the grace of an archangel, a fruit from the tree of life, the seal of Solomon, and the blood of a most holy man. In the Apocalypse world, Jack and Mary find that reality's Bobby and a colony of humans. Jack decides he's not just going to save them, he's going to become their champion and kill Michael. The search for the Most Holy Man leads the brothers into a bizarre underworld of sacred relics. It's a black market of saints' bones, false promises, and plenty of gunfire. They almost bite the dust but are saved by a kind-hearted priest, Father Luca. In the end, the Most Holy Blood wasn't from some ancient martyr. Father Luca, a man of genuine faith with a papal title, donates his own blood, completing the final ingredient for the spell. For the first time in a long time, Dean starts to believe they actually have a chance to win. Rummaging through the Men of Letters files, the brothers find a clue to the Seal of Solomon. The search leads them to Rhode Island, where a woman appears to be frozen in time since 1925. In reality, she's a god from another dimension named Yokov, and her cult is trying to free her. Sam and Dean manage to send her back to her own dimension, and in doing so, obtain the seal. To top it off, Ketch raids Asmodeus' hideout and escapes with Gabriel and the Archangel Blade, delivering the complete portal package to the brothers. The spell lasts for 24 hours. Dean crosses over with Ketch, while Sam stays behind to protect Gabriel. In the Apocalypse world, Dean becomes obsessed with saving that reality's version of Charlie Bradbury, burdened by guilt over the death of his Charlie. He and Ketch rescue her and discover that Mary and Jack have become leaders of a human resistance. The portal's time is running out, and Dean is forced to return, but Ketch decides to stay and help fight. Back at the bunker, Asmodeus attacks. In the middle of the fight, Gabriel finally unleashes his full power, obliterating the Prince of Hell. But instead of sticking around to help, he simply vanishes. In heaven, Lucifer is already being so insufferable that even his ally, Anael, is fed up with him. Castiel goes to heaven and finds Naomi alive. The situation is critical. There are fewer than a dozen angels left. Without power, heaven will collapse, and billions of souls will fall to earth as wrathful ghosts. With no other choice, Naomi seals the gates of heaven. On Earth, Rowena is killing Reapers to blackmail Billy, the new Death, into bringing Crowley back. The plan fails, but the brothers see a chance for her redemption and recruit her, despite Billy's grim prophecy that Sam will one day be the one to kill her for good. In the Apocalypse, the team discovers Michael's fortress is empty. It was a trap. That world's Kevin had perfected the rift spell and, under Michael's orders, blows himself up to destroy the resistance, leaving Jack devastated. In our world, Gabriel wants revenge on Loki and his sons, who sold him to Asmodeus. With the Winchesters' help, he kills Loki's sons. Then, Gabriel confronts the real Loki, with whom he switched identities centuries ago, and eliminates him once and for all. His vengeance complete, he finally agrees to pay his debt and help the brothers. Gabriel's grace isn't enough to keep the portal open for long. Sam has a crazy idea: capture Lucifer and use him as a giant battery. With help from Rowena and Gabriel himself, the plan unbelievably works. They cross over into the Apocalypse world. There, they fall into a vampire ambush, and Sam is killed. In a shocking move, Lucifer resurrects him, using the act to try to win Jack's trust. At the camp, father and son meet for the first time. The atmosphere is tense, a mixture of curiosity, hope, and the devil's pure manipulation. Jack, desperate for a father figure, gives Lucifer a chance, but time is running out. 31 hours remain before the rift closes. Ketch and alternate Charlie are captured, and the rescue is brutal. When the evacuation of the survivors finally begins, Michael arrives in full force. In a direct confrontation, he kills Gabriel. Chaos ensues. With a masterstroke, Sam manages to trick Lucifer, trapping him in the Apocalypse world as Rowena closes the rift. Everyone celebrates the victory for a second, but the joy is short-lived. One of the refugees, Maggie, turns up dead. Lucifer suddenly appears, claiming he resurrected her, all to manipulate Jack. The plan backfires when Maggie herself accuses him of her murder. Michael also attacks, but a furious Jack easily defeats him. In that moment of distraction, Lucifer steals his own son's grace, becoming super-powered and leaving Jack human. He flees, taking Jack and Sam as hostages. To stop a maxed-out devil, Dean makes the ultimate sacrifice. He allows the Archangel Michael to use him as a vessel, on the condition that he, Dean, remains in control. Michael Dean uses the Archangel Blade and kills Lucifer, but in the next instant, Michael breaks the deal, takes total control of Dean's body, and disappears. The teen is left behind, facing their worst nightmare. Dean has become the monster they feared most. Weeks pass with Michael parading around in Dean's body like an apocalyptic tourist. He goes around testing monsters, asking what they desire most, and forging alliances with vampires. Meanwhile, Sam has become the leader of the hunters, exhausted and obsessed with finding his brother. Jack, now without his angelic grace, is basically a regular human, trying to train with Bobby and failing miserably. To make matters worse, Nick, Lucifer's former vessel, has survived and is dropping vague clues that Michael wants to do it right this time. Castiel, on his own search for information, falls into a trap set by the demon Kip, who wants to use Sam to become the new king of hell. But the negotiation is short-lived. Sam shows up, kills Kip in front of everyone, dissolves the meeting, and sends a clear message. There's no new king of hell. The remaining demons, naturally, get the hell out of there. Jack decides to find his maternal grandparents to feel a connection to his mother, but he doesn't reveal who he is, like Clark Kent visiting Smallville. Across town, Nick is growing more violent, discovering that his family's murder was never solved. He starts his own revenge quest and kills the neighbor who said nothing at the time. Michael continues to play mad scientist, injecting his grace into monsters and wiping out a vampire nest just to see what would happen. This, of course, gets the attention of Sam, Mary, and Bobby. The Archangel even makes a pact with supercharged werewolves who are now immune to silver, but the Winchesters prove that a good old-fashioned way of killing vampires still gets the job done. Suddenly, Dean reappears in the bunker, safe and sound. Michael simply left him behind, without a word of explanation. To understand how Dean broke free, Castiel delves into his mind and finds the image of a hooded woman with a spear, the dark version of Kaya. Coincidentally, Mills was already investigating monster corpses with the same wound. This dark Kaya is a dreamwalker who was always connected to the original Kaya. The confrontation is interrupted when Michael's enhanced vampires attack. Dark Kaya saves the group but vanishes with the spear, the only weapon that could harm Michael. Dean, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders, confesses his guilt for all the destruction the Archangel caused. And Jack, feeling useless, solves a witch case using only his brain but hides from everyone that he's coughing up blood. On her first solo mission, Maggie goes missing. The team arrives to find a festival of hallucinations and a supposed psychic in a coma. But the culprit is Neil, a nurse who is actually a djinn supercharged by Michael, left there as a trap for hunters. For some bizarre reason, the djinn's venom has no effect on Dean, who uses his mysterious immunity to kill the monster. In a quieter moment, Bobby confesses to Mary that hunting is the only thing he has left since losing his son. The two decide to take a break and get away from it all at Donna's cabin. Jack finally convinces Dean to take him on a hunt. Suspicion falls on Harper, a librarian with bad luck in love, but the truth is far more macabre. She's a necromancer who keeps her ex-boyfriend, Vance, as a pet zombie, feeding him her suitors. The dynamic duo eliminates the undead boyfriend, but Harper escapes, now obsessed with Jack. In parallel, Sam and alternate world Charlie hunt down and kill a Muska. The mission makes her consider leaving the hunting life, but Sam convinces her to rethink it. The victory is short-lived. As soon as they return, Jack collapses and starts bleeding in front of Dean. Rowena makes the diagnosis, and the news is grim. Jack's body is at war with itself, his human and angelic halves destroying each other. A charlatan shaman named Sergei appears with a supposed cure, which is actually an experimental spell that only makes the boy's condition worse. With nothing left to do, they all prepare for the end. Meanwhile, Nick continues his journey of vengeance, uncovering the name of the demon who murdered his family, Abraxas. Worse, he was acting on Lucifer's orders. Nick kills the man and prays to his former master, unaware that his call has awakened something dark in the empty. Jack dies. Just when all seems lost, Lily Sunder, the expert in angelic magic, offers a forbidden solution. She can resurrect Jack by using his own soul as a power source. In return, she wants a chance to get into heaven. Anubis, the judge of the afterlife, says her destiny is hell, but they try anyway. In heaven, Castiel discovers that the empty is hunting Jack's soul. To protect him, Cass makes a deal, offering himself instead. The moment he finds true happiness, the empty can take him. The ritual works. Lily dies, but her sacrifice changes Anubis's judgment, and she ascends to heaven. As a bonus, Naomi gives them Michael's location. The hunt for Michael begins. Garth infiltrates the monster army and uncovers the plan: turn all of Kansas City into an army. Forced to accept Michael's upgrade, Garth's loyalty is compromised. Dean and Castiel negotiate with Dark Kaya and finally get the spear, but when the time comes, everything goes wrong. Michael destroys the device meant to weaken the monsters and captures Jack. Sam rescues him, but the worst happens. As Dean prepares to strike with the spear, Michael simply retakes his body, shatters the weapon, and reveals he'd always left a backdoor open in the hunter's mind. The attack is imminent. Michael, back in Dean's body, is captured with angelic cuffs, but not before summoning his horde. A Reaper appears out of nowhere and teleports the group safely to the bunker. Sam and Castiel use the Men of Letters machine to enter Dean's mind, like something out of Inception, and find him trapped in a loop in a perfect bar with Pamela. Instead of expelling the Archangel, which would kill Dean, they manage to lock him inside the Hunter's head. Outside, Jack uses his own soul as fuel and annihilates the entire army. Billy appears and shows Dean that in almost every future Michael escapes. There's only one way to win, and the vision of what must be done leaves Dean terrified. Dean flees the bunker and secretly begins building the Malak box, an eternal prison for archangels that he plans to use on himself, sinking to the bottom of the ocean. It's the plan Billy showed him. Sam finds out and tries to stop his brother. Meanwhile, Nick kidnaps Mary to force her to open the Enochian box containing Abraxas. The demon confirms that Lucifer ordered the massacre of Nick's family just to create the perfect vessel. With the truth in hand, Nick kills him. Dean shows Sam the box and explains his sacrificial plan. Reluctantly, his younger brother agrees to help. Nick manages to escape from jail, but is now haunted by his wife's ghost, who is trapped on Earth due to his obsession with Lucifer. Sam and Dean investigate a new prophet who is glitching because Donatello is in a coma. Believing he hears the voice of God, the man goes on a killing spree. To fix the line of succession, they heal Donatello, who awakens soulless but functional. With the crisis averted, Sam and Cass convince Dean to postpone the Malak box plan and use it only as a last resort. A Gorgon, a monster that petrifies and devours its victims, is on a bloody tour across the country. Since her sixth sense doesn't work on non-humans, Castiel and Jack set a trap, but it fails. Dean is knocked out and falls into a coma. Seeing his friend in danger, Jack burns a piece of his soul and simply vaporizes the creature. At the hospital, chaos returns. Michael escapes from the mental prison in Dean's head, possesses Rowena, and nearly wins the fight. Nearly. Jack, now supercharged by his soul, expels the Archangel and destroys him for good, revealing his glowing angelic wings. His powers are back, but at a terrible cost. Everyone is suspicious that Jack lost his soul along with his humanity. Dean takes him to Donatello, the soulless prophet, for a morality test. Meanwhile, Sam and Castiel investigate a small town trapped in a 1950s fantasy, like an episode of WandaVision, controlled by a psychic boy. Castiel breaks the spell and traps the villain in his own mind. Alone in the bunker, Jack pretends to understand Donatello's advice, but his mask slips when he coldly kills the pet snake he took from the Gorgon, proving the emptiness inside him. A series of disappearances leads the brothers to a Kohonta. With the help of the local sheriff, they hunt the monster and save his son in the process. In the bunker, Jack, who is grounded, decides to impress some teenagers by showing off his powers. He ends up losing control and nearly kills one of the girls with an angel blade. He heals her afterward and hides the accident from the Winchesters, sinking deeper into his secrets. Nick kidnaps Donatello and blackmails the brothers. His plan is to use the prophet to tune into the empty and pull Lucifer back to life, demanding Jack's blood to do it. In the chaos, Sam is injured, and Nick manages to open a portal. Lucifer almost escapes, but Jack and Mary arrive in time. Jack shoves him back into the empty and, in a fit of blind rage, brutally kills Nick. In parallel, Castiel discovers it's impossible to contact God. He decides to tell Sam and Dean the truth about Jack's soul. But before that, alone with Mary, the boy snaps, and something terrible happens off screen. Rowena confirms the worst. Jack killed Mary. It wasn't on purpose, but a surge of power that instantly annihilated her. In heaven, Castiel learns from the angel Duma that Mary's soul is at peace in her private heaven with John. Desperate, Jack tries a resurrection spell from the Book of the Damned, but with no body, all he brings back is an empty shell. A hunter's funeral is held amidst grief and shock, while a hallucination of Lucifer begins to manipulate Jack, pushing him away from everyone. The angel Duma stages a coup in heaven and decides to use Jack as her divine weapon. She turns him into a soldier of order, trying to create more angels and forcing humanity to worship God. Castiel confronts Duma's new tyranny and kills her. On Earth, Sam and Dean set a trap for Jack and lock him in the Melloc box. Castiel returns and is horrified by the betrayal. It's useless. Influenced by Lucifer's hallucinations, and with his cosmic power at its peak, Jack shatters the unbreakable prison from the inside and escapes. More powerful and unstable than ever. Free and out of control, Jack casts a spell that forces the entire world to speak only only the truth, causing global chaos. Desperate, Castiel prays, and to everyone's surprise, God himself appears. He undoes the spell and offers a gun that kills the target, but also the shooter, proposing that Dean eliminate Jack for good. Dean corners the boy, but can't bring himself to pull the trigger. That's when God reveals his game. The Winchester's story was just his favorite TV show, and he had been manipulating everything. Annoyed at not getting the ending he wanted, he snaps his fingers and kills Jack himself. Then, he opens the gates of hell, releasing every soul the brothers have ever hunted. In the empty, Billy and the Shadow welcome Jack, revealing they have plans for him. On Earth, Sam, Dean, and Castiel find themselves surrounded by an apocalypse of zombies and familiar monsters. The brothers and Castiel are trapped in a crypt, surrounded by a horde of zombies that escaped from hell. The situation is dire, the Walking Dead level dire. Suddenly, Jack's body gets up, but it's not him. He's possessed by Belphegor, a no-nonsense demon in sunglasses who expels the souls and proposes a partnership. Meanwhile, the nearby town of Harlan becomes a ghost-themed amusement park, featuring the greatest hits of monsters the brothers have ever faced. The trio must organize an evacuation while their new demon friend creates a ward to hold back the spirit tsunami. Belphegor then reveals the scale of the problem. Billions of souls have fled hell, Lucifer's cage is open, and Michael could be out there. To make matters worse, Castiel can't heal a gunshot wound Sam took from the gun that kills God, feeling a strange energy blocking his powers. Sam then realizes that if they win this war, they'll finally be free from God's script. Belphegor's containment ward starts to fail, like a bad Wi-Fi signal. The ghosts now have a leader, the spirit of Francis, none other than Jack the Ripper. Things get so serious that Rowena, everyone's favorite red-headed witch, shows up to lend a hand and reinforce the ward. As if that weren't enough, the Hunter Ketch also appears, hired by a demon to take out Belphegor. In the midst of this chaos, the ghost of Kevin appears and drops a bombshell. God betrayed him. Instead of going to heaven, he was thrown straight into hell. The Winchesters managed to trap several spirits in a crystal like a soul poke ball, but the cracks in the barrier keep spitting out more ghosts. Far away, Chuck, now weakened by Sam's gunshot, seeks out Amara for help. He tries to manipulate his sister but gets shut down hard and ends up trapped on Earth with a mysterious connection to Sam like a spiritual Bluetooth. Rowena lays down the hard truth. The ward is going to fall for good. The plan now is to go to hell to retrieve Lilith's scepter, which works like a soul vacuum while she and Sam seal the rift. But of course, it wouldn't be that easy. The demon Ardad is hunting Belphegor, and in the process, kills Ketch. In hell, Bel manages to steal the scepter and reveals his true plan, to use its power to become the new king of the underworld. Before he can begin his reign, Castiel arrives and, with no patience for a villain monologue, disintegrates Belphegor and the scepter along with him. With Plan B gone, only one alternative remains. Rowena activates a sacrificial spell, absorbing all the souls into herself and asking Sam to stab her to complete the ritual. She falls into hell, the rift closes, Dean blames Castiel for the loss, and the angel, heartbroken, decides to leave, leaving the team short-handed. Sam is haunted by visions of a dark future, receiving trailers of a universe where he becomes a demonic leader and even kills his own brother. On a hunt in Iowa, the Winchesters find a teenage vampire who accidentally killed his girlfriend. The boy is consumed by guilt, and Dean, in a moment of pure pessimism, offers death as a way out. Sam, exhausted, begins to wonder if this whole fight is still worth it. Elsewhere, God decides to visit Becky, an old fan, and acts like a toxic writer testing out cruel endings for the Winchester story. When Becky rejects his dark ideas, he simply erases her and her family from existence, proving he's the most psychopathic fanfic writer in the universe, and goes back to writing his grim finale. 2 deaths in Colorado lead the brothers to a case involving 2 werewolf brothers. The hunt ends on a depressing note. The younger one, tired of the curse, kills his brother and then takes his own life. But the survivor they rescue has a surprise. It's Lilith, who was pulled from the empty by God to retrieve the equalizer. After destroying the weapon, she reveals Chuck's master plan to make Sam and Dean kill each other. Sam's visions weren't random. They were spoilers for this tragic ending, all because of the link the gunshot created between him and God. While Sam insists they can resist, Dean Dean, for the first time in a long time, starts to think that maybe there's no way out and that they've truly reached the end of the line. With the doors to hell glitching, Aileen's ghost manages to escape and asks the brothers for help before she's lost forever. Sam, diving into Rowena's journals, finds an unfinished resurrection spell. Two witches try to steal the spell, but with help from Dean and Aileen herself in her ghostly form, Sam wins the fight and brings her back in the flesh. Finally, a happy ending, even if it's a suspiciously happy one for Supernatural. Meanwhile, Castiel, trying to get off the grid, ends up solving a gin case and realizes his purpose is still to help people. Back at the bunker, Aileen's presence renews Sam's energy and gets a promise from Dean that they won't give up the fight. Dean decides to go on a solo hunt in Texas, responding to a call about a disappearance. There, he reunites with Lee, an old hunting buddy. The nostalgic reunion goes down the drain when Dean discovers Lee has made a sick pact. He feeds a monster, a Marid, victims in exchange for money and health. Seeing his friend has crossed the line of no return, Dean is forced to kill both the creature and his old partner. In parallel, Castiel decides to investigate Sam's bizarre connection to God. He manages to coerce a shaman into helping him, and by hacking into Sam's mind, discovers a crucial piece of information. He saw Chuck's memories and confirmed that the Almighty is weak. For the first time, God seems vulnerable. Donatello discovers a secret in the ancient tablets. God confessed his fear to a favorite. Suddenly, Chuck possesses the prophet, just to threaten the brothers. They connect the dots and conclude the favorite is the Archangel Michael. The problem? He's in hell. When they get there, they find a surprise. Rowena has been crowned the new Queen of Hell. She informs them that Michael escaped the cage and now shares a body with Adam. Lilith appears to try and take the Archangel back to Chuck, but ends up being eliminated. After being captured and hearing from Castiel all of God's betrayals, Michael becomes disillusioned and switches sides. He reveals a spell that can imprison Chuck, but needs a rare ingredient, a flower from purgatory. He opens a portal that will last 12 hours, while Sam and Aileen unknowingly walk right into a trap set by God himself. Chuck reveals his manipulative masterstroke. He orchestrated Aileen's resurrection just to bait Sam. He tries to extract what's preventing his wound from healing and discovers that it's hope. As punishment, he shows Sam a post-victory future where everything goes wrong. Monsters take over, friends die, Castiel goes mad with the mark, and the brothers become vampires and kill each other. Meanwhile, in Purgatory, Dean and Castiel not only retrieve the flower, but also mend their friendship. But when it's time to trap God, Sam hesitates, shattered by the dark vision. Chuck seizes the opportunity, heals himself, and vanishes, laughing in their faces. Aileen leaves, and Sam is devastated. The only good news? In the empty, Billy finds Jack and says, "It's time." Without God's script to protect them, the brothers lose their famous protagonist armor. Real life hits hard. They catch colds. The Impala breaks down. Their credit card is declined, and their luck simply runs out. They've become normal people, and that's terrible for a hunter. Investigating a monster fight club, they end up captured and thrown into an arena against a giant vampire. When all seems lost, Garth, the lovable werewolf, shows up as the hero of the day, blows up their cage, and saves them. Humiliated and weakened, Sam and Dean accept that they need a power-up urgently. Garth then mentions a secret place in Alaska where supposedly luck can be restored. In Alaska, Sam and Dean find a pool hall run by the goddess Fortuna. She literally controls luck. After beating the brothers in a game, she's impressed by their courage and decides to return their luck for free, calling them true heroes. While the Winchesters get their mojo back, Castiel makes a shocking discovery. Jack is alive. Billy had hidden him in the empty and trained him this whole time. Now the kid is back on Earth, hunting Grigori, the angels who feed on souls, the same ones from Claire's past. After helping him, Cass brings Jack back to the bunker. His mission is clear and direct. He was trained to kill God. Chuck is acting like a bored gamer, deleting entire universes that no longer please him. Back on our Earth, Dark Kaya kidnaps Mills. She demands the Winchesters fulfill their promise to take her original version back to the bad place, which is dying. The problem is that using Jack's power to open a portal could alert Chuck. A Reaper named Merle shows up with a solution, cloaking the boy's energy. They manage to cross over, rescue the original Kaya, and Dark Kaya chooses to stay and perish with her world. Shortly after, Billy appears, punishes Merle for breaking the rules, and warns them, a book exists that describes God's defeat, and the end of of this story involves Jack and the Winchesters. Billy gives them a deadline. Chuck is finishing his cosmic spring cleaning, and to power up Jack, they need to find the occultum. Aina L lies, saying Ruby hid it in hell. Seeking the truth, Castiel asks Jack to throw him into the empty, where he negotiates with the Shadow, which takes on Meg's form, for a conversation with Ruby to get the real location. To throw Chuck off their trail, they rescue a Sam and Dean from an alternate universe and use them as decoys. The occultum, which is actually a celestial artifact, sends Jack directly to the Garden of Eden. When he returns, he's in tears and apologizes for Mary's death. In that moment, Castiel realizes the experience restored Jack's soul. Dean decides to find Amara to try and recruit her against Chuck. She explains that they are like Siamese twins. Their separation created the Big Bang, and refuses to betray him. Dean's speech about family and humanity moves her, but not enough. Meanwhile, Cass and Jack investigate murders linked to a pastor. The culprit is his daughter, who was punishing sinners. When a demon appears to take the girl, it's clear the Crossroads are back in business. Later, Jack confesses the truth about Billy's plan to Castiel. He isn't a weapon, he's a suicide bomb. His death will create a power vacuum that will suck in Chuck and Amara along with him. Horrified, Cass rushes to warn Dean. The plot flashes back to 1993, with a young Sam and Dean facing a monster with friends. In the present, one of those friends dies, and the other, Caitlin, calls the Winchesters. The monster is a Baba Yaga, tied to a ring they broke in the past. Dean finds the ring and destroys it for good, ending the threat. But the calm doesn't last. Billy visits Dean with a sinister warning. Chuck has finished erasing the other worlds and is coming home. After hearing the truth about Death's plan from Cass, Dean tells Sam everything. The brothers are divided. One side wants to accept Jack's sacrifice. The other wants to find a way out that doesn't involve killing the kid. With Chuck back, Operation Jack Bomb is a go. They find Adam, the first man, who gives Jack one of his ribs. Its energy, combined with Jack's soul and grace, will turn him into a black hole for divine beings. Suspicious, Sam breaks into Death's library and discovers Billy's plan B. With God and Amara out of the way, she would take control of the universe. Amara tries to stop her brother, but ends up being absorbed by him. Chuck, more powerful than ever, sets up another scenario for the brothers to kill each other, but Sam stops Dean from sacrificing Jack. Annoyed by them breaking the script, Chuck leaves the board, but Jack begins to overload, about to explode. At the last second before the detonation, Billy manages to throw Jack into the empty, but the explosion awakens the Shadow, which is furious. The world begins to disappear. It's not Chuck's doing. It's Billy erasing everything except Sam, Dean, Cass, and Jack. Mortally wounded by Dean, Billy hunts the group through the bunker. To save everyone, Castiel finally activates his pact with the Empty. He admits his true happiness and declares his love for Dean. The Empty appears to take him, and in doing so, takes Billy along with it. Dean is left devastated and silent as the world around them fades into absolute nothingness. It's one of the most tragic and impactful farewells in the series. Chuck condemns the brothers to a ghost planet, where even the dog they find is erased from existence. They recruit Michael, but not even the Archangel can read God's book. Lucifer reappears pretending to help, but it was all a ploy by Chuck. Michael destroys Lucifer, but then betrays the brothers in the hopes of becoming Daddy's favorite again. Chuck erases him without a second thought and finally beats Sam and Dean until they're nearly dead. Except every punch, every spell, and every betrayal was actually feeding Jack, who had become a living power siphon. He sucks all the divinity out of Chuck, turning him into a mere mortal. The brothers decide to spare him, and Jack, now the new god, restores the world and promises not to write anyone's script anymore. Months pass. The brothers live a normal life, with occasional hunts. During a fight against vampires, the unthinkable happens. Dean is struck by a piece of rebar and dies in Sam's arms. In heaven, he reunites with Bobby, who explains the new rules. Jack, with Castiel's help, fixed heaven. It's now a place where people can reunite and live out their best memories together. Dean gets in the Impala and drives down the Celestial Highway. On Earth, we watch Sam's life unfold. He gets married, has a son named Dean, grows old, and on his deathbed, passes away peacefully. He reunites with his brother on a bridge, an echo of the very beginning. After a lifetime of writing their own story, the Winchesters finally find their peace.